Oh, wait, we're not stepping on each other's toes.
Okay.
Cool.
Hey everybody, so we're back. This is episode 10 of Into the Splinterverse with myself, Stever82, and Bebeomega. Go ahead and say hi to the people and then introduce our special guest to the crowd.
Hi guys, happy to see you again in our little small anniversary 10th edition of the show. And it's a special episode, so we have some special guests. We have one of the most rapidly growing YouTubers. Well, they're not YouTubers actually, but people on our Splinterverse, the guys behind the People's Guild. So if you guys first welcome to our show, and if you want to say some quick, brief introductions, that would be nice.
Hey guys, yeah, Hepthorn here with the People's Guild. We run with Bjangles, my main host. I say I'm really the co-host. Started to get involved with them last few months, but longtime listeners. We had a great little podcast, have lots of great guests, and yeah, really excited to be here tonight talking with you guys.
Yeah, nice. Bjangles here. The other guy on the People's Guild. I don't know how much of a special guest we actually are. I've seen some of the guests that you guys have roped into the Splinterverse, but I'll accept the compliment, Stever. Thank you for that, and thanks for having us, guys.
Well, buddy, I believe your guest list is still putting us to shame, but we're working on it. And that's one of the things I think that's been most impressive. Do you want to at all touch base on like how you were able to book those guests? Because I know in the pre-show you were telling me even you were surprised sometimes.
Honestly, man, it's really been a welcome surprise in terms of the amount of generosity that the community has shown, and that's both internal to the team, and we've had some pretty big whales on the show as well. Everybody's pretty receptive about hopping on, taking some time out of their day, and shooting the breeze with us on the People's Guild. It's been really awesome. I think we kind of shot our hopes pretty high when we first decided to start bringing guests on. I think shout out to Aftersound. I think he was our first guest back in June maybe of last year, and then we kind of slowly put the pedal on the floor in terms of if you don't shoot your shot, you're definitely not going to get it right. So we started reaching out to some of the bigger folks, and surprise, just about everybody has obliged. So yeah, if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. So might as well ask and see what happens.
Yeah, nowadays it's cool to be on the People's Guild, right? It's the cool place to be.
Well, speaking of the cool place to be, we've got I think the both of you guys coming up in the next month or so. So yeah, just some more stars to add to the roster of the People's Guild, we'll say.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm pretty excited about that. My video will be somewhere in the lineup with the crazy names that you have on there. So that's really pretty cool. And then Hemp, you said you kind of joined a little bit later into the show. I think you've been on it since I've been listening the last like a few, but how did you get involved with them?
So yeah, backstory there is Jangles and I were guild mates before Jangles joined YGG, or guild mates in Phoenix Risen, where I still am. And he was there with Wascal Wabbits, another guild mate at the time. And they had got the idea to do the podcast. And I'm a big fan of podcasts. I like to listen to them as I commute to work, walking the dog, doing things around the house, cooking. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I don't watch like a lot of YouTube streams and things because I just don't, not in front of the computer or have my phone with me. So that's why I kind of like to just have headphones in and listen to things and have them downloaded so I can, when I'm out on the go. So I was like always being very supportive. I was like, this is great. I love this as a form of content for Splinterlands because, I can hear these great interviews and keep up with what's going on in the game. And so I was just trying to be like very positive feedback, giving them, trying to give them ideas and things like that to do. And they had me on to talk a couple times. And Waskell had to actually step away. Had some like work stuff he had to do and focus on, and so they asked me if I wanted to jump in and take the reins. I don't know, how many episodes have I done now, Jangles? It's hard to keep track. Has it been like close to
I
like
actually,
10 or 15?
yeah, I just looked, and I think you took over beginning of May, so we're pushing. We're definitely into the double digit territory of featuring Hepthorn episodes of the People's Guild, and yeah, Hepthorn sells himself a little bit short. He was very clearly and obviously our first and most fervent fan in the People's Guild fan base. He was the first one to put up his hand and say, "Hey man, keep doing what you guys are doing." So yeah, it was an honor to get Hepthorn's approval and agreement to come on and take the reins over for our good buddy Waskell.
Well, yeah, that's pretty cool. I have to admit, I didn't see your guys' stuff right away. And I think as somebody that makes content, we get kind of stuck in a loop of, creating content, being on the show, trying to play the game. And I don't get to consume as much as I would like, but you've definitely made it into, I think, one of the ones that I'm like, okay, I gotta catch these episodes because you've had some alpha dropped on your show a couple times, right? And so that's pretty exciting when you hear those kind of things, I'd imagine.
Yeah, unlike Steve, I think I'm following, like, I think it was a second or a third guest. I know they were like Lutien and Bulldogs. They were kind of like second or third. Like it wasn't much of a lineup at that point when I was first listening, and it was the joy of it is, when I drive a lot for work, so I'm often in the car for long hours, and I hate when I have to switch from one YouTube video to another. And on the stop, I have to look at my phone and see where I can find something to watch. And whereas when I put the People's Good podcast, I know at least for a couple of hours, I'm set, man. There is nothing interrupting me. So that was one of the features I liked the most of your podcast in the beginning.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Well, living in Southern California, I trust that you do spend a lot of time behind the wheel and listening to podcasts. So appreciate you making us a one of your top listened podcasts, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it definitely works fine when you need to have something in your ears for a constant like time, like a couple of hours.
Yeah, I think it's a great format, and I think that's part of the reason why we've been able to, get so many good guests and get such great content out of them. It gives people, especially team members, a little bit longer of time to kind of not only tell their story but talk about what's going on. We hear them in the town hall. Lots of time they have 5-10 minutes they get to talk. This allows us to kind of dive in deeper and get to know them more on a personal level, and see where they come from and where their passion from the game comes from. And that amount of time really allows a lot of that passion to kind of shine through, and not just the team members, but a lot of the people who like Azakron, Dave McCoy, Fat Jimmy, a lot of those guys who have been around for a long time, who love the game and have such a passion for the game, and have had such a passion for the game since basically the beginning. So it's kind of great to really dive in deep to that and see where that comes from.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's really good about that for the overall community of the game is you start to trust the whole thing a little bit more when you get to hear these guys speak for hours, and you really start to understand who they are, as opposed to when they're on the town hall and they're just trying to do their job and they're just listing off like, here's my accomplishments for the week, or here's my failures for the week. Sometimes it seems like, and then like I remember like I listened to the episode you guys did with Hardpoint, and I was like blown away by like just his backstory and how much you guys got into that. And so that was really cool, and I'm glad that there's a show out there like that. I hope everybody out there is watching it or listening to it, I should say, because it is just audio, right? There's no video format for it, but it is good. I know I started listening to it on my walks because I try to walk a couple miles every day now that I'm getting older and I need to not sit in my chair all day. But it definitely works for that. Speaking, do you guys want to take turns kind of giving a little bit of a breakdown of how you got into Splinterlands and tell the people a little bit about your stories? We don't have to go as deep, but a lot of people here might not, know much about you two.
Yeah. So for me, I guess it was February, was it 2020 or January 2022, right? Or 2021, I want to say. Is that right, Jangles? Jangles he usually goes first because he came in like a month
It,
after me
it was last year.
last year. So I've been around for like a year and a half. Yeah, a year and a half in the game now. I was just starting to get into crypto a little bit. I um, have always been kind of not like a huge gamer. I've always played video games. I said this on the podcast before that I feel like, people who are a gamer are people who can, really spend a lot of time on it. I unfortunately don't have that much time to play video games and stuff like that anymore, but, grew up playing a lot of different video games, a lot of different board games and things like that. So I love games, and I always like to have games that I play on my phone or on the computer that I can just play quickly, take a little bit of a break from, from work or from life. And I always had a lot of games you have to, you pay to play or pay to get stuff in them, even if they're kind of like free to play. And I was always kind of hesitant that, I don't want to like spend too much money because, what do you really get out of it? If I grow sick of the game, it just feels like, money you wasted. And then so starting to learn more about crypto and started to like, let me look at some of the game aspects of it. And Axie Infinity was really big at the time. Wasn't like a huge fan of the stuff being on the Ethereum blockchain just because, fees are high. And, looking at the gameplay of Axie, I was like, that doesn't really look like it's, kind of my speed. And so I just started looking at other things, and a name I kept coming across was Splinterlands, just seeing articles, people talking about Splinterlands, even in articles that weren't even dealing with DeFi games. I saw people would bring it up that they played it. And so I'm like, let me check this out. And I was like, the gameplay looks like something I'm, is right up my alley. I love the strategy of it. I love that you can kind of play, a game takes a minute or two to kind of get through. And so, yeah, I just started to play it, really, really liked it, really started to progress, and didn't really know what I was doing at first. Sort of like everybody, I was trying to read articles online and find stuff. And a lot of them were talking about, untamed cards or alpha beta cards. And, this time it was right before, when I joined, was right before Chaos Legion went on sale. It was still in like pre-sale. And so like really struggling to figure out what to do, and was like going into guilds and people's discords, like begging for guilds to join. And some people were like, you don't have a deck, you don't know what you're doing, you come back later. And I just got hooked up with a good group of people, finally found someone who accepted me, and they kind of guided me and gave me some good advice. And it's sort of been like, for me, like felt like off to the races after that, where I was able to kind of figure out, all right, this is what's going on, played a little bit more, got some of the strategy down, started to figure out what the meta was, what the cards were to buy. And then, Chaos Legion kind of going into the general sale, I was able to get a bunch of packs and really just start building out my deck. And so now I'm, I play in both modern and wild, gold level. I have a pretty decent deck. For a little bit there, I was able in wild. But that was kind of before they started doing the 3 rule sets, and I've certainly slipped from that. And this season was a little rough for me too, with all the bots in wild now. But play a little bit of both. I really like the game, like really like both formats, and yeah, so that's kind of been my journey through Splinterlands, and still in the same guild I was initially got in with, and yeah, and like we said before, just started about a couple months ago doing the People's Guild podcast, and yeah, it's been great.
And BJ, Bjangles.
Yeah, so I came in pretty much on the heels of Hep. My good buddy Waskel is the one who introduced me. It was we both live in Taiwan. We're longtime buddies. We've been friends for better part of the last 12, 13 years. And he came up to Taipei, where I was living at the time, and we were hanging out and having some beers under the bridge. And he was like, "Man, have you heard of this game, Splinterlands? It's on the blockchain. It's pretty cool. Worst elevator pitch. If we didn't have any alcohol, I think I probably the elevator pitch definitely would have fallen flat. But we watched a couple battles. I was a little bit intrigued. I made the impulse purchase of a spell book, and then I was kind of compelled over the next couple of weeks to make the most out of my money. Yeah, when I first got started, I think it was probably Bulldog and Infidel that shout out to those guys. That I was kind of first introduced, first stumbled upon their YouTube channels, and as a result, I ended up buying. Gosh, my first maybe handful of purchases were just a hodgepodge of cards that I've long since gotten rid of. I don't think ever saw any playtime. I really struggled for the first probably 2-3 weeks of playing Splinterlands. It was, that we hear time and time again, the bronze grind is just ugly. It's not fun. And I was stuck in the thick of it and hadn't really figured out that rentals were a thing. But as soon as I figured out that rentals were a thing, I think I must have spammed Yoden for the next month. and finally I think I made my first big purchase. I bought 500 packs of Chaos Legion just in time to qualify for the Carnage Titan airdrop. And gosh, that like, saying that out loud, it feels like that was so long ago. But the reality is it was less than a year and a half ago. It's not that long. But yeah,
long. It's been forever. It's been ages.
I guess so. But yeah, the initial intrigue was certainly there. I grew up playing Magic the Gathering, so I always had an affinity for the tabletop trading card games, and like Kep mentioned, having the ability to play a trading card game in a 1 to 2 minute battle format, everything being on the blockchain, the NFTs, and all the this has been a huge learning experience as far as the economy side of the equation goes. But the entertainment factor, the fun factor was the initial draw. And I'm we've gone down the rabbit hole, I think, starting up this People's Guild podcast and everything else. And, like we were talking about off air, our beds are made. We're here. And honestly, I got to say it's the most excited I've been for, the coming 6 months than I can remember in my Splinterlands career. I think the shift to the no bot modern really turned the page for me. It's so much fun. Steve, you and I have gone back and forth a handful of times. I keep running into you. And it's just so much fun to have that personal interaction with folks that we know. It's cool. I think for a long time, everyone was really concerned about a small community, small number of players that are really involved and invested in this game. But the flip side of that is, I run into a lot of names that I know, which is amazing. It's so cool. And, half of the time I can hop onto Discord and immediately talk some trash or just, run away with my tail between my legs because I just got housed. But the personal interaction is really fun. And yeah, that's kind of my story. And the reality is I feel like our stories collectively are really just getting started. It's, we were talking with 16-bit a couple of weeks back, and he made the reference that, Splinterlands is still very much in its infancy stage. We're still wearing diapers as a community. Yeah.
It's better. I've said it for a long time. It's like people was like complaining about this and that as if like we are having the final release of the game and that's all we're gonna get and from this point on is doom and gloom and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, we're just scratching the floor.
Yeah, and I do think the game has turned a corner with the no bots in modern. I think it's proved a point to people now that it's been around for a while. You don't need the bots for the game to be fun. There's enough of us playing it. The match liquidity's been there. The rewards all go up, and you want to play the game again. And this is how it was when I first started in the game. I mean, you think there weren't many people now? There was no one when the game first launched, because I got in a month after it started, and we could still find matches. You would have to go into the Discord and ping, are people playing? But you could get matches. But the difference was you built a community. You knew the people you played against. You knew for the most part back then that those people were actually playing the game. And it was for me it was a much better experience than going out and playing the game and seeing Red Panda 01, Red Panda 02, Red Panda 03, Red Panda 04, Red Panda 88, and you're just like, oh boy, not only are these bots destroying me, it's a computer, and then it puts you in a place where you're like, I really have to get the cards to win, as opposed to I can get a decent deck and use my skill to win. Because I would argue, I mean, I don't know exactly where your collection is, but my collection is pretty big, and you beat me and laughed at me a couple times, and I finally beat you a couple times later, and I got you back because I was like, man, he not only beat me, but he came and yelled at me. And then today, Darkest Night beat me. We've only played 3 times. He beat me all 3 times. And every time I was like, will you stop stomping on me? Because he's already up in Champion, and I'm still in Diamond 1. And he keeps like beating me after I'm on a win streak, because then it matches me up to him, and he's just smashes my dream. I go, earlier I messaged him like, when are you going to be done? And he's like, I got 6 ECR left, so I'm probably going to bed. I was laughing at myself a little bit because I'm like, ugh. I did fall victim to finally just giving in and using a bot, because when Archmage came out, I knew it was going to be too prevalent. I wasn't going to bang my head against the wall anymore. It could make more chess than me. It was going to make a better investment to me, and I just was like, if this is what the community wants, this game's now an investment for me. It's not a game. It's just, I've got the cards. My card collection's better than yours, so I'm going to leaderboard. And I leaderboarded like the last 3 seasons with my bot. And then now I have to play the game for real. I got stuck in Champion 2. Now, at the end of the season, the last 4 days, I went on a little anniversary trip. So I was playing on my phone, and I'm not as good on my phone as I am on my computer. So I might have been able to get to Champion 1 again at home, but definitely not on the road. So it's one of those things where, it's going to... there's certain cards, maybe a couple that I didn't get, or a couple strategies I haven't learned, and I didn't have any reason to do that before. And now I finally do. And so that makes a big difference to me, because in the past, like you said, you had to go rent that Jotun so that you could start winning. That same kind of thing is going to happen to people as they come into here. They're going to learn those cards they have to get, and they're going to have to get their hands on them. And I think... as we've already seen, the anti-bot stuff's just going to grow, because people like getting more SPS in the chest. They like getting more per win. They like not fighting the bots. And it'll be interesting to see, and maybe Bebeomega can defend his bots like he has in the past, but do you guys think this grows?
I never defended the bots. What are you talking about?
That this grows into no bots in Wild, possibly?
Yeah, I was just sharing my concerns, which we already had, and yeah, I'm really happy that the experiment is working, man. What you're talking, I mean, I'm enjoying playing in bronze again. Can you imagine that? I mean, in bronze, I'm making, like, my out in bronze is making per win more than my other out in wild silver, that is run by Archmage, because just the price pool is better, and it's easier to get the nice multiplier. And I'm really enjoying getting back to basic and learning all the stuff all over again from scratch. But guys, did you listen to the town hall today? Like, I mean, anybody has any feelings about it? Like, how did it resonate with you? Like, I mean, Steve, you can start, and then we can maybe hear from our guests.
Well, yeah, I listened to it. It was kind of a mellow town hall to me. No super big announcements, but it was good to see that they agreed that the no bot thing is working. They brought up that there's some additional proposals out there to expand the no bot stuff, and to even say that battle helpers would be against the rules. I like that. Maybe as a community we're getting ahead of that, and that's going to be the first test if the community is really embracing this no bot thing. If we see them come out and ban battle helpers, which technically I don't know how you do, yeah. But still, if they say that that's not what we want here, then we'll have to hope that at least, we're in a world where 75-80% of people follow the rules. I don't know if that's the truth, but I think it probably is right now while we're in the lows. I do think that if we go on the crazy bull runs that I've talked about is going on with SPS, the fact that we have a DeFi system here that people ignore that could completely break our tokens and almost make the game unplayable for anybody that didn't already have assets, because things would just be way too valuable in our ecosystem, is there. But overall, it was good. But we didn't get firm. Did we get firm dates for anything? I don't think we did.
Well,
We got like
we
in
August.
August.
we get
Yeah,
the firm month.
For a month.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
I was
starting
hoping, I was
soon.
really expecting a tower defense firm date today. I wasn't expecting a land one. We didn't get one, so that was a bit of a disappointment. Do you guys want to give me
I'm
your
calling
take on
it
the town
12.
hall?
I'm calling it 12th.
The 12th. So
Ooh,
That's soon.
next Saturday.
That's
All
your
right.
guess?
Oh, okay.
Is the 12th?
Tuesday,
the
so
Tuesday,
15.
the Tuesday after the 12th. So like
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to at
14th,
least pick a Tuesday.
15.
That's all the way to the 18th, though. Oh no, wait, I'm
15th.
looking at July.
Two
I'm
weeks from
looking at
today.
July. I need to look at August. Yeah, the 15th.
Oh, see, well, yeah,
Yeah,
right down the
maybe,
middle.
maybe.
But I'm thinking that like in the next week we'll be getting it on maps on the test server, and if everything goes smooth, I'm expecting it 15. But I mean, it seems like it's inevitable anymore. So I mean that's exciting, and seeing all the cool eye candies from Nate. That was I have one behind me. That was quite enjoyable. I mean, how all the things are set up. The thought of doing this auto selection of workers. I think if that makes it to the initial release, that will be awesome as well. And in general, it sounds like it's knocking on our door, so I cannot be more excited.
Oh, I was happy before I go to you guys that they did say that at least, though they kind of backtracked on this later with Nate, that Rooney should be there. Because I was one of those voices that was pretty not happy about that.
Yeah. Bjangles, what about you?
Yeah, Steve, I was just going to say the same thing. I think, it kind of snuck in there, and maybe it wasn't as big of news because it was kind of walking back the statement from, what was it, Town Square last week. It was back to the status quo, the expectation that we were going to get Rooney, we were going to get titles made available in Land 1.5. So I think, there was kind of a communal sigh of relief from everybody who's been, stacking Rooney and planning on, it breaks my heart, but I think the right play is definitely to relegate Rooney from in game to Land. It just makes the most financial sense. As much as I love playing with Rooney, I would love to just get another one, but that floor just continues to creep up, and it kind of makes it. It's a tough decision if I'm kind of holding out for the last of the Riftwatcher airdrops, and I can get pretty much all three of those. I'm assuming for the cost of one more Rooney. I would rather have 3 cards versus 1.
Not financial advice, buddy, but Rooney's are Matt's baby. And he's going to do everything he can to have them be on par with Bored Apes and Yakuza or Akuzis and all those crazy PFPs over there on Ethereum. And he's in those groups. He has those people's ears. And I think you'd rather have 2 than 1 if you can afford it. That way you can always sell one if they start being worth 60 Ethereum.
Oh, is that for an elevator pitch?
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, last thoughts on the town hall from me. I always love Nate. Nate brings. He's got such an elegant approach to the creative department and to expressing his vision for where this game, where Land is going to go, and to see that kind of come to fruition with the artwork that Team Creative continues to churn out. Man, that's AAA stuff, man. It's so good. That artwork is just phenomenal. I can't wait for, I've long been excited for Land. I think seeing Nate's vision and the team's, kind of fingerprints on the artwork coming out into the community, week after week with Nate's eye candy drops, that just, it's got me frothing at the mouth, man. It's going to be fun. Good times.
Yeah, definitely. And Hep, you want to share did you listen to the town hall?
Yeah, I wasn't able to listen to the whole thing. I missed Nate's part, but yeah, just to touch on the no bots in Modern, I think it's been going great. I think the liquidity has been surprisingly fast. I did just want to talk about that because I thought it was going to be a significant slowdown. It hasn't seemed it seems slightly slower. I mean, slightly noticeable, but it has not been an issue, at least for me, at all the times that I'm playing. I haven't heard anybody say that it isn't, they're having an issue. So I think that's really great. Yeah, I think those proposals are out, actually. I think Dave McCoy sponsored both the no.
Yeah.
They're live. So it'll be interesting to see how those goes. When I looked at them earlier today, there was, it seemed like so far there was overwhelming support for them. So, I kind of hope they'll pass, and then, kind of we'll see how those are going to be implemented. Yeah, the land was, it's good to hear. I feel like we've kind of heard lands coming by the end of August for a number of town halls now. And then, we hear Aggie recite the numbers, the recitation of the numbers of DC and cards and combinations and, all this, and how much liquid SPA. It just feels like, I feel like I sort of ton of zoned out when that was going on. I was like, this is maybe the 6th or 7th time I feel like I've heard this. But yeah, we're finally getting there. We're finally getting there. I do actually have 2 Rooney. I bought 2 in the pre-sale whitelist, with thinking that, yeah, exactly what you said, Stever. If I want to have one to have, and I want to have one to sell if it really pops off. So yeah, I'll have one. I'll be able to put the lands. Still on maybe just, I have like 13 plots. I think I have enough cards in DC right now to do like 8.5. So I'm kind of hoping it's maybe a little more towards the end of August than August 12th. That might catch me a little flat-footed, but I'll probably be close to getting to, almost all my plots ready by the end of the month. So we'll see. Yeah, it's good. It's going to be, even if, half of what Aggie says will come true, it'll be interesting. How the economics could really be affected by this. And, I think the bigger thing is, I don't think it's going to happen. All this stuff is going to happen right away. But I think having this mechanic, as a sync for DEC, as a sync for cards, is going to be great for the game, in the long haul, right? I don't think it's going to be this amazing godsend that sort of maybe some people have been hoping for, or sort of been hyped up as in, by the end of September or October. But, it really helps them create a more sustainable ecosystem, just kind of moving forward when, you have more cards released. It's more packs out there to really be able to suck up some of those cards that maybe are just floating around and keeping prices suppressed. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting mechanic, see how they pull it off. Some of the ideas that they have to develop it, over the course of the next couple of years, I think sound really fun. And yeah, it's going to be just kind of like a feeling of, I feel like, of relief for, they finally get this monkey off their back of land. It's been a long time since they first announced it, right, Steve? I don't know. Did you guys get land in sort of like the pre-sale or the initial sale of land?
Yeah, I got my 2 tracks in the second pre-sale. I got iced out of the first one, and then back at the time, anybody who sent in money for the first one got a guaranteed spot in the second pre-sale, because there was a lot of uproar that, like, bots bought the first pre-sale. And so they did some anti-bot things, and then they did the second round, and they whitelisted a whole bunch of people. I actually did it back with a group back then. So they were trying to buy a region, and I put in enough money to buy 2 tracks. My funny story about land is, back then, if you supply DEC ETH liquidity, they airdropped you plots. So I earned 30 plots just from doing that. I put 2K in that. And then it was like one of the greatest trades ever, because I got 30 free lands. And those are some of the lands I sold, like, near the top for $800. And then DEC went up 10x from when I went into that LP, and I dumped it into ETH. And I was like, wow, this was cool. I got a bunch of free land, and I turned like 1 Ethereum into 6 or 7. It was pretty amazing.
The first pre-sale was like a second and a half. Maybe the whole pre-sale lasted like a second and a half. Wow. And yeah, there was really a lot of uproar. So I remember how I got mine was Byzantium. He was saying, like, whoever like from people who were trying to buy just plots, not full regions, so they were not part of the lottery. Whoever wants, he was selling plots at the prices he actually bought them.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, sign me up, and I get 100 plots from there, and then from the liquidity, I also got some airdrop like from the lottery, and it was fun. I mean, they were cheap back then, but the pre-sale, like because now we saw all these sales go really fast, and things like we got it for 15 seconds or 27 seconds or whatever it was, but nothing comes close to land pre-sale. It was like one refresh and it was all gone. That I
Yeah,
remember I was trying to get it to get it.
we all were.
Yeah, one refresh and it was like sold out. So yeah, that was the fastest one I would
Yeah.
think in Splinterland history.
And one of the other
Oh.
things to think about with land, it was like one of the best opportunities because we had discounted DEC. You were buying it with discounted DEC at dollar value, so even at like $20 of land, it was like really $15 of real money. And then not only, but then you have to remember this. That means like a guy like me who's holding 200 lands, I only put $3,000 into those lands. Now they're asking me to stake quite a bit more money into those lands if I want to utilize them all at a high range. Now, I happen to have a pretty big collection of cards, including some alphas and betas that I do have at max level that I'm going to put into land. And then I have a full Untamed set. I'm actually I can't wait till Rebellion comes out so I can just move almost all of that into land. But the fact of the matter is that's why when he says a lot of us are not ready, I'll tell you something. I'm not fully ready. I need 7.5 million DEC. I have about 4 million DEC. So I need to buy another 3.5 million. That's to have enough to be able to stake everything into land. And I only have 200 lands. And I know that's a lot. He's pointed out to me that I'm actually one of the top holders in land, which I was surprised. I thought quite a few people beat me, but the list is smaller than I thought. And to me, land is what's going to fix this game and show people that you don't need bots. Because like let's say we ban bots from Wild, that means there's going to be some cards are going to get really really depressed in price, but people who have land are going to be the ones who solely buy those up because like right now you probably have newer cards on your land, right? So if all of a sudden alphas and betas got super cheap, you'd be enticed to buy them to put onto your land because they earn what? An alpha's like 20x PP. Betas I think are they 5, 10 or 5? I'd have to read the white paper again. I should probably go do that
I
soon.
think alpha was 10 and beta was 5. I know.
Okay, maybe it's 10 and 5, and then Untamed I know is 2. Is 2x. And then eventually the question is will way down the road when Chaos Legion gets moved to Wild would it get a 2x too? But probably not since it was such a big set.
Do you think that so while you're talking there, Steve, I couldn't help but think of land surfing, and I feel like land surfing is such a beautiful solution to exactly what you were just fearful of is the card market, kind of the floor falling out from under it. I feel like land surfing is a nice, kind of artificial floor there or not even artificial. It's a firm floor there for these cards that are going to be earning 10x, 5x via alpha beta. Had you considered that as kind of a counter to depressed card prices?
Well, I understand that. I think land will fix it. The only reason I say they'll depress is just because there'll be an initial shock, right? How many people are running big bots and they're just going to just be like, well, we've been banned from both leagues. I could sit here and try to work around the bans and risk accounts getting banned and stuff, and then they're gonna dump. This is the few big bot runners that are still left. Obviously, the guys who are playing the game like me, I'm running one bot in Wild. I would just stop doing that. And those cards were going to land anyways once land is here, so I'm not going to be running any extra accounts once land is here. That's when Wild will probably get its first decrease in bots. and depending on if this ban passes or not. But that's it's a lot of guessing. But what Aggie did say, you have to remember, like, consider every card in our whole ecosystem was combined up to max level. Land would take up 3/4 of those cards fully deployed. Now, how long before it's fully deployed? It could be years. But if cards get really cheap, it'll deploy faster. I know if they were really cheap, I'd buy some betas to put onto my land because I don't have enough for all 200 lands. So, and especially because, like, land 1.5 is the prepping. Like, the whole point of 1.5 for me is to get your land started rolling and try to have it to, like, a full production place by 2.0 launch. That's the game of 1.5, is be ready so that when 2.5 launches, you can go into full production of all those resources and really, really own those liquidity pools, because it's going to be the chance to, probably get the most gains that we've seen in this ecosystem in a while.
You mean 2.0, right?
Yeah, 1.5, it's getting, all your land cleared, getting all your first buildings in, getting all of your whatever you can build up, and then working on your monster collection. You're starting to look at, okay, this is what I have. What's the cheapest card to give me some more PP? Using some of those profits, maybe go get that card. And then, it's going to become that game of, I got to get the higher production point. I have to get the higher production points. And it's always going to be looking at your weakest card that you have on land and the cheapest, best card to replace that card. And that's where eventually, over time, land can suck up a lot of those cards. And what land surfing does is it prevents it from getting stuck at like a 30% clip of being used. Because we might have got stuck.
Huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I mean, thanks to you guys, because if it wasn't for you, probably we wouldn't have heard about it for quite a while. It was your podcast where the alpha bomb was dropped. But I think yeah, land surfing is good. I mean, at least especially for me, because I definitely don't see having the resources needed for all my plots. So yeah, I'll put the essential ones at work, like the ones that either occupied magical or have some rarity, and go with that first. But yeah, at some point I would like people to just come and stake on my surf on my land. And before that, when Stevie was saying he only have like half the DEC for all his land, believe you me, he is one of the most prepared of all the big landholders. Most of them don't really, like, they're thinking about 10, maximum 15% of their land to be operable in the beginning. So people know that they won't start at full speed, and they know that they need the DC. They just don't care. I mean, people don't, like, we are procrastinator. We don't care. I look at me. We don't care until it actually hits us. It was the same with the staked SPS. People were hearing and they were like, yeah, one day it will come, but I mean, who knows when it will be? And then when it comes, like, oh, already? I mean, come on, guys, you didn't even told us that this is coming or whatnot. So yeah, I'm sure all of a sudden people realize that they need, especially in the beginning when they see the whole gains on SPS mining, because it will be huge. I think, like, with the few amount of plots getting all the pool SPS, I think people will see initially first huge SPS gains, and they were like, oh, wait, I have to get more DC to get more plots running, because this won't last forever. And I think land will once again catch us not prepared.
Yeah, and the thing is too, and I know your mind kind of glossed over this when Aggie started talking the numbers, but cheap DEC is going to disappear faster than people think. And it's not even because there's a whole bunch of people out there with wet powder or dry powder ready to buy it. It's because there's a lot of people out there doing what I'm doing. I'm sitting in the SPS DEC pool, or they're sitting in the Hive DEC pool, or they're sitting in one of those liquidity pools. And we've been sitting in there with thousands of dollars, maybe more, tens of thousands for the big whales with multiple regions. And now that they finally have, in theory, a date, we're all playing chicken with each other to do this. I'm going to pull my liquidity out, and I'm going to swap the other coin into DEC. So I'm going to remove twice as much DEC as I currently have from that liquidity pool. And then when I do that, and when Aggie does that, and when Matt does that, and when 16-bit and some of the mega whales start doing that, the liquidity is going to just disappear. But every time we do it, we're going to shoot DEC's price up. And my $2,000 buy that I'm going to do when I do that, because I have about $4,000 in that liquidity pool, is not like enough to moon that price like crazy. But if a couple of the bigger guys are doing the same thing as me, and they're pulling that liquidity out, and they're doing those 10,000 buys, and they're probably doing them on tribal decks, which then is going to create the BSC arbitrage bot to go buy a bunch out of that pool and transfer it over. We're going to see that liquidity dry up really fast because there's just not enough left outside of the market makers for people to really deploy land like they want to, and nobody's ready. Nobody has it, and a lot of people are sitting in these liquidity pools, and like I'm thinking about in the next day or two doing mine, because I don't want DEC to start to run, because then I get actually less DECs, and I want the coins. I don't want the better value. I need those actual tokens, because I need the roughly 50,000 per plot for about 50 plots, and then a little bit less after that, because I got some like alpha and beta cards that are like level 6 and 7, which are still far better than a max level untamed card, unless it was like a gold. So that's the kind of stuff that I'll be looking to upgrade eventually. Be like, okay, can I get a gold untamed version of this, because then it would actually be a higher PP than the level 6 beta card. So there's gonna be a lot of games to be played, but man, when that liquidity starts coming out and you see some of those big players, that's why Aggie warned people that he was gonna just yank a bunch of liquidity and then he's gonna flip it all, and then he didn't say he's gonna flip it. He might have enough where he just removes it, but then every one of those sales are just gonna do more. But I mean, I'm literally going to be like, whoop, $2,000 buy. And other people are going to do that. And that's where the DEC is going to disappear. Even if you don't see a lot of outside money come in, it's just going to be a rearranging of the funds. And then we're going to pop up 90-cent DEC quick, 95 probably pretty quick after that. And then it'll probably hover around there for a bit, would be my guess.
By the way, Bjangles, I think you're the only one that haven't mentioned how much land, if any, you have, and then where you are in your preparation, and how excited you are.
So I'm going to make a bold statement. I think I'm ready. I've got 7 plots.
Wow.
I've got all my DEC ready to go. I've been very particular in keeping it in my Hive Engine wallet, so I'm not tempted to go shopping on Peak Monsters and scoop up some of these untamed cards that keep kicking my ass. But yeah, I've slowly been accumulating cards. I've pulled the trigger on a couple of beta legendaries and epics to kind of correspond with my lands. I was settled at 6 plots about 3 weeks ago, and then I took a stroll through the Peak Monsters land marketplace, and I caught a whale of an epic magical land in my territory. And I think both of you guys, Stever and Bebe, are in our territory as well, which we could talk about in a second. But yeah, I found an epic magical for 285, and it had building in a box. It had unstable totem, and I think the next cheapest is close to $1,000.
Yeah.
So I pulled the trigger on that. But yeah, I've got all my DEC ready. I've got my monsters ready. I'm just waiting for Weirdbeard to pull the trigger and for Cryptomancer to push the button. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Are you guys both Wild Northeast then?
No, actually, I'm in Uprime. Like, that's the first territory, like number 18.
I'm in 98, but I'm in the one with the other streamers. So my 2 tracks are in there. Gene Pool's in there. There's some big accounts inside mine. We've got Bulldog. We've got a couple other people. That's why we were like kind of worried when Gene Pool like started selling a bunch of stuff, because he's one of our big landholders. Because basically we got together 8 people that had 10 tracks, and then we claimed one together at the same time. I might have like a land in your territory because I did a thing where I sold one rare occupied to buy 2 rare magical, because when land first got revealed, you could do that. And as somebody with a bigger SPS bag, I'm not gonna focus as much on SPS long term in land. I might at the beginning because it might be outsized rewards, but long term I was gonna try to do more magical research. So I picked, and there was a little theory floating around, and I still plan to do this maybe eventually, but it's been harder to pull off. You buy a magical legendary, a magical plot in all of the regions, and you put it on Magic. You have to buy another land to feed it. But if you can get one in each one, then no matter who wins the Secret of Pretoria, you'll be part of the first winning team if you have one in all 6. So you can guarantee that, like, if there's a little badge that gets added to your account, or a little whatever, a special title that everyone who participated in gets, that you'd get it. But there's no way you'd be a serious player with just one, you know, if but you'd be on the list as long as you had it doing research. So maybe you could if you spent more money and got an epic in each, but that would be a bigger investment.
Which territories are you guys in?
We're all wild northeast. So 98. That's where my epic magical is. I've got other plots in 94 and 102. And Hep, I think you're right there with me in 102, right?
Yeah, we did ours together with Waskel, and so we're all kind of like right in a row in 102. So yeah, I've been focused on that, and I have an occupied, a magical earth, and a magical fire, and then the rest are, just regulars. So yeah, I didn't know you got that magical. That's pretty awesome, Jangles. But yeah, one thing I don't have is anything that produces wood in the long term, in sort of like the longer time frame. So my thought is, because we have, like, where we are is just a lot of like canyons. So I'm thinking of getting some wood plots too, so I can have, make sure, like, when it comes time that you can actually mint cards, I'll have sort of everything I'll need to be able to produce cards.
You won't be having everything, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
you need
you
a lot of trades.
You bought in here, Bojangles, in 98?
Yeah, I did. So I'm on track 5, plot 33.
Okay. 5.
So like due west. It's like dead center, far west.
Let's see. I'm on my land. How do I just look at all the land? I haven't spent enough time on this. If I just undo those, that's how. Right?
There you go. So it's a light blue one of the longest rows in the middle, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 from the left. Yeah, so bottom left, light blue guy.
Oh,
in the middle, the long rows in the middle. Yeah, move your cursor left. Yeah,
this one. Ah,
that's the one.
So
there she is.
5. Who was this? Who owns the rest of these? Woody. Is this the one that got sold off? Yes, I think this was Gene Pool's land. And he sold it because this was his tract, because he was in here with us. And then I never heard why he sold everything, but he started like fire selling all of his stuff. But if you look around here, let's see, I'm here. And then this is, I don't know if you know him, but it's Plato. He's kind of a bigger player in the game. And then up here is Queen of Monsters, which is...
Is that Dave?
Yeah, Dave's in here. And then down here is Tails. See, Sinister. And then down in the bottom, who is that? Rare Raptor? I'm trying to remember everybody's actual account name compared to their game name. But we went in here and that is he's got 3 plots. Rare Raptor is
That's the Splinterforge guy, isn't it?
Yeah. He's the guy from Splinterforge. I was gonna say, who is he again? then I remember, because we haven't been talking this much. And then I sold one plot there, and then I bought one in 47 and 120. But I need to buy other ones. Oh, did I sell one? Track 398. Did that other one get bought and I didn't even realize it? Well, because I was trying to sell one more, because I decided to be nice and sell the one next to the other one I sold, so that he'd have a place to make green. Because I sold one, and I'm like, you know what? I'll put one more on the market and see if he'll pick it up. And so I guess he did pick it up, because I only own 98, it says here now, instead of 100. This is kind of like my second track that I'm...
I mean, you haven't accidentally sold your kit, right?
No, I didn't sell it.
Misclicks happen. I mean, sometimes, misclicks happen.
No, he's picking on me. Did you guys? I don't know if you saw it, but my accidental combine all that I did on my account.
Oof.
Yeah,
on soulbound cards.
It wasn't all of my cards, and luckily I did it before I had any max soulbound, so it just hurt a little bit. But I had a handful of. But the thing that probably hurt the most is I had what was the last promo card?
Zerial. Zerial.
Yeah. I had 11 of those that were not combined, and they combined up to a max level, and I was like, because I had bought 22 and I was going to piecemeal out the extra ones and sell them, and then it combined it, and I was just like, I don't know what. So now I have to try to sell it with that combined discount if I want to get rid of it. So I've just been holding it for now. So
that's a great card, man. I feel we've talked about it a couple times on the podcast. I feel like Zerial, she's going to start to see a lot more gameplay and value as the guys in the higher leagues get their non-attackers soulbound cards up to speed. And especially if I heard Yaba talking about it a couple of weeks ago, where the team is considering to bring in the non-attacking monsters to ranged and magic only rule sets, which would enable the weapons training. So I would guess Zerial's value is only going to go up. Not to mention she's super rare.
The other day when we were on stream, I have one gold foil, and I saw the floor had boosted up to $1,000, so I tried to sell it, because I did a play back in the day where I put 1 million DEC into the Zerial airdrop, because it got me the gold foil, and I wanted to see if later on in the future I could get 1 million DEC back. And then all of a sudden the card was selling for $1,000, and I was like, what? Or that was the floor. So I listed mine, but nobody bought it yet. And I think somebody's listed under me by now. But somebody came in there and bought them up to where the floor was up to $1,000, so they bought all the cheap ones. But we'll see over time. I like the card, but I don't know. I haven't mastered using it. I'm guessing reverse speed mostly, but I've used it a couple times to give Almo attack and put Almo in the last position with arrow attack, and it's kind of crazy because he's super fast and attacks pretty well.
Well, you've got the Zerial cheat code with Kitty, man. I rent Kitty for most brawls, and I feel like that's the cheat code. Just her kit, her ability set is so meta, like the Rust, the Divine Shield, the Life Leech.
Try that more, because I don't use Kitty by default. I tend to go towards either Death, because their summoners are so bad, and when you speed those guys up, they can be kind of ridiculous sometimes. And then or Fire, because Fire is super fast, so it does well with Fire. But I don't use it with Life as often as I probably should.
Well, you sounds like you're forgetting that Zerial is also a death monster, man.
Oh, you're right. It is a death monster
as well. But
I don't know why. She just doesn't make the cut that much. I'll have to remember
I play the Riftwing and the what's the epic soulbound for death? The Wisp?
Yeah.
The Wisp. Yeah, that card's pretty cool, and I have that up to I think level 5 now.
And you can also use the Watch, the neutral. the clock.
You can also use the little one cost one if you have it, but you might not because it's an untamed card. The
shadowy.
Yeah, the
shadowy presence.
Shadowy presence. He's one cost, and then he's got a pretty cool kit and a decent amount of life. So, but that doesn't always work if it's high mana though. Then you don't want to put a one cost card on the board. So, but it's a nice one to sneak in there. So you can put that and Riftwing on one side, and then you yeah, it's some nifty stuff. I don't know. I guess I got to get back into playing. You know. I just have to play more. And there's so many more cards to choose from now because, like, I had been botting throughout all of Rift Watchers pretty much. So now, like, when I see these teams, I just go like, man, there's so much to pick from. It's
I'm really glad you brought that up, man. I was going to mention earlier when you guys were talking about, kind of the death of bots in Modern. And Hep, you'll be happy to hear this, baby. I think you will as well. I've just finished the unstake of my Xbot token, and I'm fixing to put that thing out on the market. I'm going strictly back to manual gameplay only, man. I'm so hyped for.
I'm happy to hear it.
Well, you dropped a comment on our Siler conversation, and Heptorn.
I was told this.
and Heptorn routinely gives me grief for using the Xbot, but
no, yeah, I don't. I think I'm very, very, very nice about not saying anything about it.
Okay, well,
no,
you
I mean,
imply grief.
It was something that really pissed me off when they were probably the last in the game of botting, like they were the last kids on the block. I mean, Siler was, and then everybody else was kind of like keeping everything away from tournaments and bros. And he's like, okay, well, now guys, I'll give you a chance to cheat on bros and tournaments. And it was kind of like, and I'll charge you for it. So, I mean, the whole concept of, I just thought it's like morally wrong. And I voiced it even when I heard about it being a case. I've always been saying it, and even when there was the whole bot proposal, I was saying, yeah, okay, bots, cool. You talk about bots, but how about Battle Helper? How is that any less cheating, or however you want to say it? So it's kind of, I know I heard that he kind of decided to play ball and try to not go against the community and even remove the support of Battle Helper for some form, like I don't know, it was for tournaments or something like that, but still the whole idea.
If you select no, it's not allowed on the tournament, then his tournament won't by default, it won't allow it, which is nice. But I know what you meant. I really was anti-Xbot. Their interview with Skylar, when I listened to the whole thing, it made me, I think I commented on you guys, it made me a little less because it seemed like he was coming around to the fact that he had to limit his bot a little bit. And I like the fact that I think you kind of asked him if there could be a way to use the Battle Helper more for less or for some kind of prepayment plan. He's like, nope, I'm just going to make you pay a lot to use it. And I was like, to me, that I don't like Battle Helpers, but at least if one's out there, I want it to be expensive so that, it deters use a little bit. But I hope that they just get shut down, and then though it's going to be interesting if we ban bots completely, and this is the one maybe bad thing about doing it, because I think our game can survive without them. I think there will be some shock to the system we'll have to work our way through, but I do think overall the game will be more attractive to new people and stuff. But all of a sudden, the Skylers of the world might not play nice anymore. They might go, fine, you're going to completely outright ban me? Then I'm going to crack your security. I'm going to sell my bot to people on the down low. I'm going to try to dominate your game. I'm going to make it completely active in all modes of your game. And that's something that while we're half and half, I think they're resisting. And so I'm a little worried about that.
Well, I hope you're wrong there, man. I feel like, when Hep and I had the conversation with Siler, and this was something that was unbeknownst to me prior to chatting with Siler, he has a sizable bot farm. So he's pretty well invested in the Splinterlands ecosystem. And yeah, to your point, Steve, he's definitely willing to comply. And Bebe, you just mentioned this as well. He wants to play ball, right? And right now it's purely honor system that he's limiting bots or battle helper assistance with tournaments that identify the NH code. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially if Dave's proposal for battle helper being outright removed. What is the backlash? What does that look like? I hope, the good in me hopes that the Silers of the world don't try to circumvent the system, but battle helper is, at this point, for all intents and purposes, that's XBot's bread and butter. Maybe we'll see some new products, some new service offerings come out of Team XBot to kind of compensate for the loss of battle helper. But
Alex Toro coming with the rebellion.
Maybe since we're talking in the chat, I don't know if everyone saw it, but Alex Toro, who says nobody knows his account name, is admitting that he's still botting in Modern, so that he has his own bot that is working for him in Modern. And I do think that the first kind of test is going to be to see if Alex comes back in a while and say he got flagged or not.
He'll be our DP.
What guild are you in, Alex? Why don't you tell us what guild you're in?
But I mean, I don't totally hate the idea of some people trying to poke the security wall, but because if it doesn't get tested by people, and this is why I wish they had talked about a little bit, would they hire some white hat people to try to bot the game still, so that they could detect them? Because from what they've said in the town halls made me happy to seem like they were going to be a little more proactive in trying to stop this. But at the same time, Bebe's been pretty insistent you can't stop it. So that's why that's one of his major points in our discussions on this. Almost like Splinterlands can't afford to be anti-bot because to keep up with it, you need a full-on security team that they don't have. You need
because of all Alex Toros
monitoring.
Because of all Alex Toros in the world. He just proved my point.
Oh, we just got a message in chat. Geeked Out Basketball Splinter coach guy from Ajax. I just FOMO'd into 2 Rooney. Well done, fellas.
So your elevator pitch was good, man. You're good.
Yeah.
Dude, what do you think about why we were talking about this and Bebe and Steve are? I thought about the "Catch Me If You Can" story. He was committing fraud and doing all this stuff, and then once he was finally caught, he was actually employed by the government to detect that sort of stuff. Do you think is there a possibility that so there's no questioning Siler's capability as a dev? He was the last to arrive on the botting scene, and I think we saw some numbers not too long ago where the majority of folks who were in champ and in the top 100 were using XBot. So do you think there would be something there where Splinterlands would consider employing Siler services to kind of detect and put in counter bot measures?
I don't know. It'd be interesting. I mean, the one thing about it though, his bot as of today, it just uses the API like anybody else's. So I don't know of any other way to submit games to the ecosystem. So it doesn't seem like it should be that hard to catch people, for the most part, at least in the beginning. Like, unless Alex has been smart enough to tell his bot to play on a not every 30-minute schedule, like most of them have in default settings, only have a time frame. Like, do you want us to play every 15 minutes or 25 minutes? So you'd have to be going in there and changing it all the time to not have a really repetitive looking account. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But I'd be open to it, but I just don't know, because they don't have a security, like an anti-bot security person on the team. And I don't know if the community really, really pushes them, maybe.
To be honest, To be honest, I think since I know what I mean, they mentioned enough times what their priorities are, and they lie within the UX, UI department. I think if anybody from the community gets hired, like first in line, I think would be Akler Twinblade, because he actually is good with UX, UI, and could probably help them in that department where they need the most. And yeah, of course, if we get to the bull market and we get all the shiny new toys and stuff like that, yeah, they'll go again and get some good guys. And usually they tend, from my experience, they tend to look first within the community when they're hiring before trying to look outside. So yeah, if Siler is like he wants to do that. He wants to be part of the team, and probably they will be considering him definitely. But yeah, I just think their priorities are in another department, and the resources, as we said, are limited. Just my thought.
No, I think it's a good point. I think it's something that, they have all these other things that they feel they need to do, especially with getting land out. Then turning to back to the gameplay and trying to, make advancements there. I think they have a lot of stuff they need to do that chasing bots, playing whack-a-mole with bots is not a priority that's high on their list. And when we talked to Siler, he, one thing he said that really resonated with me is that the team has been focused more on land and the economics and not so much on the gameplay. And there is a sentiment with some people in the community that the gameplay is kind of stale for them. It hasn't really changed all that much. And he felt, his position was kind of like, well, the team's kind of trying to force people to play a game that people maybe don't even want to play because they're bored with it. And the team hasn't really spent as much time developing it as they should, or refreshing that gameplay. And the team shouldn't be, trying to force people to play a game if they don't want to. And, I thought that was a fair, sort of a fair assessment. I mean, I personally don't feel that way. I haven't been around as long as some people. So, I thought, to me, that's one thing that he said that kind of resonate. But yeah, it would be tough, I think, to be able to get rid of all bots. I think, just kind of going on the honor system, I think we've cut out a lot. But yeah, I'm sure there are people who are out there botting still. I think I, said this to some people the other night. It was towards the end of the season, and I'm, just playing some matches and wasn't really trying to grind for the leaderboard or anything, but just seeing some hands that are played. I mean, I've been playing, I don't bot my account. I always play it, and you can kind of tell a bot hand sometimes. Something like that hand really seems like a bot hand, whether it's someone using battle helper or it's just a bot. You just know with, how fast the team gets set and, what the hand's composition is. You're like, did a human really, think of that? Maybe they did, but to me, it just seemed like there was, still some bots out there, or at least people, a lot of people using battle helper, towards that end of season. So, yeah, it's definitely going to kind of, I feel like it's going to always be there. I don't know if they could ever, get it down to the numbers to like a minuscule number, maybe eliminate it possibly. I'm just not sure if that's ever going to happen.
Well, at least we get scarecrow effect, so that's something positive.
Yeah.
Maybe Hepthorn, maybe you ran into our buddy Alex Toro. You ran into the real bots.
You got the horns of the bull there, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just show like really quickly. I'll throw this up on the screen. I have to shrink our faces because we're always in front. But if you look at the battles, I mean, this is what the bot ban did. So, Alex, you're one of the few. If you're playing in Modern as a bot, most of the people shut it down. And really, I think what this shows is most people are too lazy to do what Alex is doing. When you could buy a token and you knew that token was safe to have in your wallet and had a good track record of winning, could put you in the top 100 if you had a good collection, it was worth it. Now you got to figure out, there are free bots you can download out there, but it's a download onto your computer running someone else's software. You don't know if there's a backdoor hidden in that. You don't know and you have to configure it yourself, and you have to play around with it, and you have to do all that and hope that they don't find out. Otherwise, your account just gets banned from playing in Modern. So I think what they did is a good move, and it's at least shown me that they scared the bots out of Modern for the most part. And with how much more SPS that people are winning there, if it was easy for somebody to do it at mass, or they felt like it was easy to do at mass, I feel like we'd probably be seeing that number start to climb a little bit. And it hasn't so much. So I like things. I do think Skylar's idea, nobody's forcing anybody to do anything here. In fact, we're forcing you to do it less than any other game probably in the history, because you can just sell all your assets and walk away if you don't like what's going on here. And even if you couldn't sell them, you could burn them into DEC if in a fit of rage, and dump your DEC and just get out of here with whatever dollars you can escape with. So there's nobody trapped in this ecosystem. It's one of the things I love about it, in fact. And I'm with Bebeomega. The fact, Brawls fundamentally changed after he did what he did. I mean, I was a knockdown 8-0 tier 3 every single time, just dominated you in Brawls all day because I had a good cards and good gladiators. And then all of a sudden, I was 2-6. 4-4, 3-4 against these people that used to be terrible, and it was very obvious that something changed, and it was that they had somebody else making their teams for them, and it's been extreme, and I can guarantee you, if it gets banned, and then his service, the easy thing is he can't use his public service because they can block that. I bet you'll see a dramatic change to Brawls, and they'll get easier again, because they got really hard and competitive once he put that into the game.
Even if there is something like on the black market, it won't be as known to people, as widespread. So it will be way better than having something that everybody knows. It's a go-to something. So yeah, that's why I'm thinking if that battle helper is gone, there'll be probably others that show up over time. I mean, they won't be visible to the naked eye due to the terms of service if that changes. So that will make them not so mass production. Some people might still use some shady battle helpers, but it won't be the mass using them. So I think that will be a big help.
Yeah, and Virus is saying that we are seeing it tick up a little bit. I'll push back against his comment a little bit. He says 40% up. I see the first day after the ban is 25,000 matches, and yesterday is 33,000 matches. It's only 8,000 more. That's, percentages can be a little misleading to say 40 to 50%. It's still a minuscule amount. And those first couple days, everybody who was using a botting service got flagged as a bot. I know I did, so I had to open a support ticket. Luckily, I noticed it quickly after it happened. I opened an early support ticket. I got my flag removed relatively quickly. But every single person who was running Archmage or Xbot, we got flagged as bots.
I was not
to start.
I wasn't either.
That's interesting because I talked to a lot of different people, and all of us got flagged and had to go through support. So I couldn't play the first 8 hours of no bot day. I had to wait. And then I got to play.
Did you stop your bot before the maintenance?
Yeah, I stopped my bot 2 days before and transferred the token off that day too. So I didn't have an Archmage token anymore. It was on my other account. Sweet. And my account was disabled, and still I went to play my first battle and it said you're a bot. And I went, what? I'm like, how can I be a bot on the very first match after the update? Is that even possible to be already flagged?
Wow.
Somebody was feeling resentment that you had beat him already, Steve.
Yeah. I'm like, it
must be a bot.
I'm like, the terms of service I just agreed to. I go to play my first match and they say you're a bot. It's like, wait, but I haven't played yet after signing the terms of service.
And you were like, talking to me? You're talking to me?
But But yeah, in general, I would say, you know, it makes sense they were going to go up a little, and I think it's going to do what we hoped for. It's going to bring people back. Because if you weren't playing in Modern before, if you were botting, let's say like you had just one account and you were botting, it made more sense to bot it in Wild before, because Wild paid more pre this mega shift. Now you stop botting, you start playing Modern because you can make more there. And so that's going to happen to the people who come back who maybe only have the one account but had put it in autopilot, because there's going to be a lot of people like me. I hated bots. I loved playing the game. Archmage and Xbot came out. It got too hard, too competitive. The bot was just obviously better than you. When you can play a season and you only earn like 80 chests and then you run the bot and it earns 115, you're like, well, what should I do? Should I enjoy more time with everything else in my life, or should I keep hitting my head against the wall here against other people who are running Archmage and Xbot? And so a lot of us just switched over, and I know that happened to a lot of people. And then now a lot of us are not using it anymore. We have to remember how to play the game again. Which is kind of funny, because I'm like, dang, I used to be good at this game. And now I go on little streaks where I feel pretty good, and then I hit a name I recognize and they crush me, and I go, nope, they were obviously playing this game for real. Like, I can tell Darkest Night like really plays the game, because his lineups are like wild. I go like, how's that gonna work? And then it just destroys me. I go, okay.
That's how you guys feel the change, like how you feel about the change, like does it bring you positivity, like makes you excited, the whole pro-human? Yeah, either of you, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, I've never bought in my account, and so I like it. I think it's great. It's one of those things where I like you said, I played a lot in Wild, and the rewards are better, and I like a lot of those older cards, and I think you have interesting combinations you can make, especially in lower mana matches. And because like that's the thing, is like a lot of the abilities you can kind of similarize them, but a lot of those older cards have those abilities at lower mana levels, so you can fit more stuff in. So yeah, I was even saying today, I was like, should I rent out all my Wild cards now and just focus on playing Modern because the rewards are better? But I don't know if I'll actually do that, because I just really still like playing in Wild, and I like to play for the gameplay. So to me, it's great to that people are excited about it. One of my biggest things for a while is that people were bad mouthing ranked play and saying, "Oh, it's not worth it. We just focus on brawls and tournaments and brawls because ranked play is all bots," and people were really frustrated by it. And I get it. It is frustrating, but it's kind of great to see people taking an interest in ranked playing and Modern again. Yeah, so I'm excited by it. I just the energy is better and different now in the community, I think, and that's I think that's kind of probably the best part of it. For me, I've always enjoyed playing it, and I was one of those people. Yeah, I always just keep beating my head against the wall, going up against bots, especially when they implemented that third rule set. It was like, then it was just like, man, the bots are going to crush me. It's just like you said, there's too many cards, and now too many rules, and trying to figure it all out in 3 minutes is tough. So yeah, but yeah, I think it's definitely a positive. I'm excited for it. Hopefully people stay excited for it.
Yeah, that just quickly before you go, Bjangles, that was a funny point that Skylar made in the video with you guys or in the podcast, that when that third rule set came out, it obviously helped the bots win more, because the players could not adjust as quickly as the bots just said, oh, okay, there's 3 rules now.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I think the initial thought with the 3 rule sets was, it's definitely going to help the players. It's going to confuse the bots. Maybe that was true for 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours.
Then the bots learned and just ran the table. But yeah, I'm right there with Hep. I'm super positive about it. I feel like this is the jolt in the arm that the community needed to kind of satiate us until we get 1.5, until we get some gameplay stuff, until we get, there's a lot of stuff teed up for until the end of the year. And I feel like just getting the community back involved and having something really positive to kind of hang our hats on for the next couple of months until we get there is going to do a lot for the game. Something that I would really love to see is more social interaction within the game. So like being able to communicate. Now that we know it's more than likely, unless you're playing Alex, more than likely a human player on the other side of your computer. You know, being able to talk some trash in game or like toss some emojis out. You know, any sort of social interaction that you could engage with your opponents throughout the match, I think would really go a long way to, you know, further strengthening those ties of what I would consider an already very tight community. Because more than likely, if you've been playing in Gold for a while, if you've been playing in Diamond for a while, you're coming across names that you're familiar with, and there's already a story there, right? Like you've got history. So being able to like really dig down and leverage a little bit more of a social aspect would, I think be the icing on the cake there.
I have a funny story. Sorry, Steve. Yeah, funny story about the whole change, because I decided, like, I was like, okay, I still don't have enough time to play all my battles. So what I will do is just set my bot in wild to play 50% of my energy constantly to keep it at 50%. So whenever I have time to play, I would just play modern. I would just have enough energy to have some fun. So that's what I did. And then there was like before the beginning of the last season, there was some 2-day power outage of Archmage. So the energy built up to about 38, 39%. And then I was like, okay, well, I mean, the way it's going and we don't know when they get their service back, I might as well get to play some battles. And which league do you think I played them anyways? I still play them in Gold. I mean in Wild, because I kind of missed my wild cards. I mean, I do have some like Auric and stuff that I love with, like, from the bottom of my heart. I mean, memories. So yeah, I ended up, instead of going in modern to get some SPS for my wins worth, I was like, nah, I'll just play in wild with my wild cards, and it was really fun.
Yeah, some of those cards are a lot of fun. Yeah, I like that. You know, say Steve, I had a kind of the exact experience as you. There's definitely some names of people I know, recognized from the community that been playing in modern and previously were, you know, getting losses from, and now I've, you know, the last few days been able to get some wins off of them. So I'm like, oh yeah, you can kind of see who was definitely botting their accounts.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's some people that are seeing that with me. They're like, man, that Steve account used to crush me.
Man, I would have loved to see with the no-bot modern era kind of taking over moving forward, I would have loved to see a full reset on statistics. Like maybe how's the previous, because modern is still relatively new, right? Like we've had modern Wild for less than a year. But it's got a giant asterisk on it anyways, because it's, you know, that is forever going to be the bot era, right? Like everybody,
because
almost everybody was X-botting or Archmage.
Yeah, because when Archmage came out, it changed the game. And then, and a lot of people don't talk about, but there's another botting service that came after that called Splintermate. They're kind of a bronze bot farm. It was holy. They don't really. Whereas I would say Xbot and Archmage kind of target people who play in the upper leagues. Splintermate is the one that's designed like with really good tooling to manage thousands of accounts if you want. So all of that stuff came out after Archmage came out, because, you know, they proved that they could do it, and they could sell a token, and they could make a service, and there was demand, and the assets were there. And, you know, there is a good point that if we flywheel and things get spicy around here, bots will probably come back, or at least try to come back, because that's just what happens when things get... But, you know, people will be caring less, you know? If you have quarter SPS or 50 cents SPS, people will just be... who are already here will just be really happy all the time. There'll be a little bit less frustration to running into a bot, but it'll be on the team to hopefully get them out of there. That's for sure. That's the one thing that'll be interesting. Obviously, I don't know Alex. I don't know his account name. I don't know if he's telling 100% the truth, but I don't have a good reason to think he's in here lying. And I do know that he shows up every week and watches the show, so he's probably a player of the game, and so if he's saying it's really really easy to bot, that's a little disappointing. But then again, it's only been, maybe they're, still complying, looking at the data and trying to catch people. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, you also got to ask yourself, like, how many people are technically competent enough to run their own bot, right? Like, I would definitely not fall in that camp. If even if I wanted to run a bot, it would take a very serious investment of time and energy on my side to get one up and running.
That's a dangerous thing. Like, if you've got a decent amount of assets in this game and you don't know what you're doing, and you're going to start downloading software, installing it into your computer, giving it your posting key, a malicious one might ask you for your owner key. You don't even think about it. You put it in there and all your assets disappear. And that's
or if you keep your owner key like saved in your computer, it might be searching through your files to find your keys. Like, just depends on your level of security. Yeah, you got to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, and so, like, that's what made these other things so prolific, is they were cloud based, they were safe, they had discords, they were even embraced by the team. Archmage came onto the town hall, multiple times to talk about their program. Because At and Maggie are truly bot agnostic. I don't think they even wanted the bots to be banned. And to be honest, if they would have voted their feelings, we probably wouldn't have got bots banned, because they decided to not vote in that vote on the modern ban, to see what the community wanted and not, put their thumb on the scale. But it was relatively close. Their thumb might have moved it the other way. So I've thought there's a miss there. I actually don't believe that you have to allow bots to be decentralized. I don't think that's the way my idea of a decentralized ecosystem is, that I have to allow you to create a fake account that can also compete in our ecosystem. No, that, to me, it should just be, one person behind maybe multiple accounts, but real people running them. And so I thought that's been kind of a miss. And I thought it's almost a little bit like, I understand that that the bots are one of the reasons why for a long time Splinterlands has been top 3 and number 1 on most played, game, and that's a good headline to have. But it's not proved to be healthy for the ecosystem. There's a lot of things that happened to us that were not great because of all the bots. Too much DLC got printed. What?
What happened? I don't know if I should open my mouth on. I mean, I know when we start talking about bots. Like, I mean, if you guys have 3-4 more hours, I mean, I can start the conversation. But I think I'd better keep quiet this time. I'll let you have it.
So Virus just brought up an interesting point about bronze. I don't know if you guys have seen, but because of the super low staking requirements, folks are very easily achieving 10-15x multipliers. And
I'm playing
are you clearing that one? I've seen folks clearing 1 SPS on their modern wins, or on their bronze modern.
1 something SPS per win.
That's crazy.
And that is starts even at the end of bronze 2. You don't even have to be in bronze 1 to actually start getting around 1 SPS. And in bronze 1, you definitely, even before you go to the top, you already started getting more than 1 SPS.
Yeah, these kind of things, whenever people bring them up, I just remember, you just say back to them, we're still in beta, right? Until land is here, we're still in a big beta, because cards are super cheap to rent, and that's always what they say, and they'll be super cheap to rent until they're not. And they won't be when they have another home on land, because a lot of people are renting. Like, I was renting out my entire Wild collection until 2 days ago, and then I took all of that stuff off the market. And so I took off a full set of beta. I have, 3-4 summoners of each one of the summoners. They're all got yanked out of people's accounts. Almost every single one of those cards belonged to people, and I took them away from them. They had been renting them. They had been grossly underpaying probably for what those cards are worth, because the rental market's been kind of garbage recently. But when I went and canceled those rentals, I had 1,000 cards and 800 of them people were using, and they had to get a new card from someone else in the last 2 days, and that's going to happen more and more and more as land comes out, because there are going to be people who did exactly what I did, and I know because we talked about it. Move to modern, rent out your wild cards, get DEC for your land when it comes out, and we did that for like a year. Right after the whole time modern's been out, I moved to modern. I rented out all of my wild cards, and I have to admit I miss playing with them. The ruler of the seas, boy, do I miss that card.
I don't.
Cube, baby, cube.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, and
Lord
cube
Day.
and being able to llama cube people
Lord
and just watch
Day.
them cry because they couldn't kill your monster. That was too funny. There was like a time in the game where it's just 17 mana, just llama cube. If you don't have one, I win. Oh, you didn't have one, I won.
Yeah, what do you guys expect? So I'm thinking about Hep's position here. So he's a relative newcomer to the game like myself, and we obviously pursued different paths of kind of exploring Splinterlands. I firmly went into the modern route. Hep has gone the way of the wild. What do you think? What would you recommend to kind of newer guys coming in? Do you feel like, assuming we get something like No Bot Modern applied to Wild, do you feel like where's the proper entrance ramp for new guys?
I still think it's modern because of the price of the cards, unless you're and because of the I feel like the no bot plane is a funner league. It has bigger rewards, so they're going to see faster ROI. And I mean, wild cards, they're expensive still. Like if you go and look at them today, especially with land coming out, land ruined those. So I can't see anybody wanting to go and spend that much money on those cards early on. I think that's a big ask. I think it's a lot easier to say, hey, I mean, if you come and look at some of the newer cards in Chaos Legion, they're cheap. Rift Watcher cards have even gotten kind of cheap comparatively. So to me, it's come play modern, play against real people, earn bigger rewards for now, and get yourself in place for the next mini set. Get yourself in place for Rebellion. If you're someone who wants to come and play the game, if you want to come play land, that's a completely different discussion, because that's where you probably want to target like Untamed cards and things like that. And it's going to be interesting when we have those two player bases to talk about, because not a lot of people have like talked about the idea that there might be people who want to come into this game just to play the land game. There may be even some players who just walk away from playing and go into land because they don't, I don't know, maybe they don't have the collection to play in Wild. Modern's got too competitive. They don't have time. They can't use their bot. I'll just put everything into land and I'll just step away from playing the game. So there's going to be some people that like that more. I think Walking Keys has said that he's like a bigger fan of the resource management games and is excited for playing the land game more than he probably is excited for actually playing the regular game. So it's gonna be an interesting thing.
I would say also modern, although like if land was not like knocking on our doors, if it was like way in the future, I would say Wild I think is more fun. And with the rent prices the way they are at the moment, it's totally for a new player that doesn't invest in putting much money in the game. Doesn't really matter what is going to rent. Like, okay, probably the wild cards still have a little bit premium, but they're totally affordable. And as I said, it's way more fun. And I was thinking before the whole change of botting from modern to wild, maybe the rewards in wild were way bigger, I would think. So yeah, if that was the case, then maybe I would say like maybe give it a try both and see what you like with renting and see which you like more. But having in mind we have land coming up and that will eat a lot of the wild cards that are extra. I'm thinking probably the most affordable way into the game would be still modern.
Yeah, recently we've talked about it a couple of times, and Hep, to your point, the wild cards do tend to get a lot of those really clutch abilities at the lower leagues, which makes deck building for like bronze and silver and wild. It's a whole different ballgame, right? You've got cards like Flesh Golem and the Screaming Banshee, and like these really really clutch cards that offer abilities in modern that we typically don't get until gold, diamond, max level cards. So the deck building, the gameplay aspect at lower leagues, I think is really really enticing from a wild perspective. But yeah, cost effective wise, I think it's a no brainer that it's got to be modern, right? But if you're coming for the fun, maybe wild is the play.
Yeah, for me, WoW is way more fun. It's just like, I mean, you have to have the cards for it to have fun. Because I'm telling you, it's
I
not
don't know.
fun.
I don't think Wild is more fun unless you have the cards. Fighting
Yeah,
against Prince
exactly.
Renin, Valimor. There's kitties over there too now because if it's a botted account, it had to move over there. I mean,
But
if you
modern
don't
doesn't
have
have
if you don't have those cards, I mean, it might be kind of fun sometimes, but to get completely stomped by some of those old cards that you're just not going to buy. I mean, they're just not for sale. Some of them
You can rent
at
them.
this point. Yeah, well, you can rent them today, but
Oh, that's what I was saying. That was my point.
when they earn 10x PP on land, you think? I mean, if you are going to rent them, they're going to be expensive. So
That's what I
I
said.
just think that with where the game is going, most new players would be better off in wild because I still think that part of any game being truly fun is being able to win a decent amount when you play it. Now, because if you just come in and you play your 30 matches a day and you win 3, that's going to be discouraging. And I feel like that there's more of a chance of that happening to you if you try to take, you know, go into wild without having the right cards, because like flesh golems will just eat you all day, cubes will eat you all day. You'll maybe you'll have an Ulrich, but they'll bring a Valimor and
It doesn't matter.
their mages will all be faster than you
Fair enough.
and hit just as hard, and he's only 5 mana to slap to even bug you more. Prince Renin teams are just insane. This is why I left wild, because I was as competitive as I wanted to be. I didn't have Valimor, I didn't have Prince Renin, and those cards were just like at 23 mana to like 25, they just beat you. They just did. They could even beat Kitty. They could beat that card, and it was insanely annoying because I went to look at the market and I was just like, that card cost like, it was disgustingly expensive. Now I know things are cheaper now because this was back in the days of 10x everything in cost, but I don't know. I don't see how, because like with modern you can actually work forward. You can easily get cards and keep leveling up. You can actually have a progression. I mean, I don't know. With wild, you look at some of the key cards in wild, there aren't even like enough for sale to get a card up in level.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 in the market. Yeah, we were talking about that the other day too. It's like, yeah, you look at some of the liquidity on some of those alpha beta cards right now, because probably people who maybe were going to sell them before, like, yeah, I'm going to hold on to them to use them on land, and yeah, it's like, yeah, you look at peak monsters, like can't get a max copy, only 6 on the market, only 3 on the market. Yeah, I mean, I think too, like one thing with new players, it's wild. There's just way too many cards, and a lot, it's a lot to try to learn. Whereas opposed to modern, it's a smaller card set, and you can kind of learn that first to learn the gameplay and how to make different combinations, and then you could play around with wild. And yeah, another thing too, I think with the 3 rule sets and the new rules that they put in, a lot of them are very kind of restrictive rule sets, and I'm seeing that some of those summoners are just not as OP as they once were. A lot of those wild cards aren't as OP as they once were because you can't even play them, or it doesn't make sense to play them, right? If you've got, you're not going to necessarily play a Valimor if it's a ranged only rule set, or I get silent summoners all the time. I feel like we're back to basics. I mean, Valimor is really getting back to basics, but like just sort of those sort of things where you're just there's the way they have all the different rule sets they have now it's used to be able to say to someone like, hey, you want to go play in Wild? Like, go get a life sneak deck and just go win, 65% 70% of your matches, just running that, because it was almost unstoppable. Get a Lorna and a life sneak deck, or you know what I mean. But it's just not like that anymore because of all the different rule sets. You can't just kind of spam the same deck. And I found playing almost that it's almost not even worth my time to look that closely at what people have played in their past 5 matches.
Yeah.
Just because the rules could have been so completely different that like and there's so many cards you have available to you now. It's like, this isn't giving me information. Like before, you could look at it and be like, all right, this guy in 3 of the last 5 times has played a Lorna, or, they've played, this card, but like, okay, this is now a magic only. This is a wands out rule set. So like all the matches they played before, it's meaningless information to me now, because it's just going to be, an immortality.
I pretty much only use it for summoners available. Because, like, if they have a Lux, it'll usually be there. So you'll know, okay, Lux could be coming. There. If they have a Kitty and Dragon was available in the last couple of games, the Kitty will be there. But I know what you mean. The rule set does change it a lot. I do see how, like, but I also think that, like, all the new stuff is in Modern. Martyr's in Modern. Weapons Training's in Modern. Rebirth is in Modern. I know there's a Rebirth rule set now. But, I mean, there's all these mechanics you can do in Modern that you can't even do in Wild when you take those cards away.
Or you can put them in Wild.
You still can use them in Wild.
I'm sorry. I don't play Wild anymore. I'm thinking, but are they still as effective? Can you play Modern?
I think they're more effective.
Imagine lower day with some weapon training.
Yeah. I was finding when I was having the most success in Wild, before the new rule sets and the 3 rule sets came out, is because I had a very good balance of, I had a lot of new cards, and I had pieced together enough of really good, some of the older beta and untamed cards to make different combinations, where a lot of people who were playing in Wild were either people with Modern decks playing, or people who just had old cards and weren't playing a lot of their, maybe they didn't have Modern or weren't thinking to play them as much, or as people who just had alpha beta cards. So you could kind of figure out different combinations that would work, like synergies between the older and newer cards that would give you an advantage. And that was one thing where it was really advantageous to look at people's like past battles. You'd be like, all right, they're playing older cards. Especially when you start to get some more of the taunts, like when Rift Watchers came out and you had like the Igor Longtails, like that was just so OP right away, because with the revive on him and everything and the taunt, and like a lot of those people didn't have those Fury cards in those older sets. Like you didn't have Fury. There's not a lot of Shatter in the older sets. So it was a really hard card to deal with when you were playing that card in Wild, with in combination with a life deck, and you could get healed, shield repair, 2 heals, a shield repair, and 2 revives or 3 revives. It was unstoppable for a while there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess I've never actually put together all of my cards and went and played in Wild.
Yeah.
Maybe you should try it. But I also want to take a brief second here. I mean, we have some new people in the chat, so I'm just trying to welcome them. And also, Hep, since you're like the weakest link, I mean, it's the latest where you are. We cannot tell how long can you go. I mean, I can go whole night, but for me, it's like I can talk about this hours and hours. But I was told that anyways, you won't be having much time, so I'm just giving you an option. If you want to stay, we'd be more than happy.
I'm good. I'll hang out for a little bit more. So yeah,
awesome.
If I have to drop out, if I have to run, I can run, and you guys can keep going. But yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, no. When he was like, "You're like, I'm the weakest link," I was like, "Oh man, like we're really getting."
I know that was kind of mean.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Like,
I made the sign, so yeah, you cannot say like.
Okay, I'm like, we can fire up some challenges right now. Yeah,
that's the quotes of remove any potential offense. There we go.
Exactly.
Darkest Knight stopped in, and he did let me know that I'm safe to play again because he's moving to Wild. From Modern, because he already put his account into Champ 1.
Oh, so
So
there you go.
He started beating your ass.
yes. He and I have to admit it because it was very frustrating. Everybody else I've gotten a little bit of revenge on that's messaged me recently after beating me, but I'd only run into him today, but I ran into him 3 times and he beat me all 3 games. It was pretty embarrassing. Though the last game, I did one of those things where I hit submit and saw my team and was like, what was I thinking? And then I saw his team and that one was pretty bad.
What is handlers? What do you mean they have handlers? I don't. I was trying to understand Stock Jockey's last comment. Then when people
I
have
don't fully
handlers-
understand all that either.
yeah,
Yeah,
Stock
well, I
Jockey-
guess we're not famous enough to have handlers, so we can just keep talking for a little bit.
You're pressing.
I
You're
don't
pressing.
usually
That's-
like to go too much longer than 2 hours, and we are coming up on that. But obviously, we can keep talking a little bit. And it always seems that the chat picks up around the end of our stream, which is kind of funny. Like Darkest Night shows up, Virus is here, Stock Jockey's getting active. We got Birds, Bees, and Trees in the house as well. Let's see.
Does your wife count as a handler?
I guess kind of. I did say I am sleeping. I am streaming from the in-laws' bedroom for tonight. So that's my clock that I have working against me. And then you guys,
So
I
you
know,
might be the
like you
weakest
said, it's
link,
getting
huh?
later.
After all,
But I mean, so I guess we've talked a lot on bots tonight, but the no bot ban was relatively new and recap. Was there anything else in the town hall? We haven't talked about I guess tower defense. Are either of you excited for tower defense? Do you have packs? Are you going to play it?
So I do not have packs. I am gonna play it. I like tower defense games a lot. I've historically liked them. When the tower defense original pack sale came out, I just felt like there was so much going on in Splinterlands because it was like Rift Watchers, tower defense, Rooney, GLG, like all that stuff was like, I felt like that was just such like a crazy hectic couple months there that I just kind of was like, I can't, I wanted to get my Rooney and I wanted to focus on that. And I was just like, I can't be like spending all this money buying tons of stuff. My handlers were telling me that was the bad idea. So I kind of was just like, I'm just not going to worry about it until the game comes out. And when the game, and I know maybe I'll have to pay more in the long run, or I'll miss out on, whatever titles or whatever. But I'm excited for it. I want to play it. I want to see when it comes out. I like tower defense games. I think from what I've seen of it, it looks really cool. I'm excited for it, but I've kind of already made that decision. And I thought about, maybe I should buy some packs and hold them because they're getting some SPS airdrops. And then it was like, I wasn't gonna go buy like 1,000 packs, and so I was like, it's really not that much. I'll just wait and I'll just see what happens. I'll see what happens when the game comes out. I'll see what happens with the card prices and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think it looks fun. I definitely want to play it. I think it's great that we have other games that we can use our Splinterlands assets for. I think that's going to be an awesome part of the ecosystem as well. So yeah, that's kind of my take, but I'm in wait and see mode and just wait until the game actually comes out. Let's get land out first, then we'll worry about, I'm going to get ready for land first, get all that taken care of, and then we'll worry about start looking towards the future of tower defense.
Yeah, I think in general, tower defense is definitely intriguing to me. Not enough to pull the trigger on packs back when, I guess at this point, the alpha packs launched for sale. More recently, I am super excited for the recent proposal from the Splinterlands team, bring in more eyes and potentially wallets into SPS for the, you've got to have your bag staked either on Splinterlands or in Soulkeep to earn the big rewards, which I think, spells nothing but great news for us Splinterlands players. And it looks like that's getting the nod from the community. It's got some damn near 99% approval, and granted, it is only the pre-approval position proposal, but yeah, I think ultimately that's what I'm most excited about is potentially, locking in a new community of players who are attracted to the tower defense genre and spiking additional utility for SPS.
I think it's a missed opportunity there. With this new proposal, I just don't see it that way because I think the staked SPS being the same for the tower defense game and the Splinterland game would have pushed way more people that came to try tower defense to go and explore Splinterlands because they already had the SPS staked. Now, at the same time, it would have pushed more people from Splinterlands to try the tower defense because they're like, anyways, I have the staked SPS, I might as well give it a go. And now it's a whole new thing for like if a new player comes for the tower defense, they spend whatever they need to spend, they stake their SPS, they start playing, they're like, oh, it's part of another game. Oh, that's Splinterlands card trading game. Let me give it a try. Let me go there, let me try to play. Oh wait, what? But I have all this SPS staked. Why am I why showing that I don't have any SPS staked? So I think in a way the whole cross platform thing. I think it was a missed opportunity with this proposal. But at the end of the day, if that's what the community wants, then it's what's gonna happen. Just my
Well, do you feel like maybe the ideal solution would have been, like 100% of my Splinterland staked SPS would apply to Soul Keep, or like a 50-50 split? What do you think was the right mix there?
In my opinion, the right way is like the amount of staked SPS is for the whole ecosystem. That is SPS. That is Splinterlands. Because like for GOG, we have separate different tokens, different staking. But for the whole Splinterlands ecosystem, I think should have been the same. And just the only reason for that is to allow this cross transferring people from one to the other, because that's what we were hoping to achieve with the tower defense. And now if you're putting in front of people another paywall for them to jump into the Splinterlands and try it out, then they'll be like, yeah, I'm fine just playing the tower defense game. And I do know that for tower defense, supposedly they'll need some Splinterlands cards to be staked on their towers and whatnot. But it's not the same. It's not the same because, I mean, we want new players in Splinterlands, and I think that would have been a great opportunity. Just if you have to make them pay double staking to earn rewards in both, I think not many people will be up for it. I don't know. I might be wrong.
Well, do you feel like, so I'm looking at the chart for SPS staking requirements on SoulKeep, and I think why people were so rubbed the wrong way by the initial staking requirements for Splinterlands is we had the history of earning 10x rewards without the necessity of SPS stakes being staked on your account. Whereas going into SoulKeep, it's a blank canvas, right? We have nothing to reference prior to that requirement. So, I feel like going into SoulKeep and having that requirement, it's a much more kind of fair entry level for anybody and everybody going into the game. Granted, there are going to be those folks who have just heaps and heaps of SPS, too much to know what to do with, sort of thing, and they'll probably jump to that 10, 12x multiplier right away. But for the average Joe, I think the SPS staked in SoulKeep is going to be much more achievable versus what we're seeing in Splinterlands.
But my point was that people are already struggling to get their multipliers up in Splinterlands itself. So, I mean, then they will have to come up with more for tower defense if they want to try it. Like for me, for example, I'm not at the multiplier I need to be. I probably won't be anytime soon. But I did buy 100 tower defense packs during the promo, and I was planning to try the game, and I still am planning and probably will. But for me, if I wasn't that bullish on the team and the whole ecosystem, I would be like, why would I need those packs anyways? I mean, it's not like they're going to make me really make good advantage of them. Like, unless I come up with some more money to stake. So I'll be like, yeah, I mean, I'm fine in Splinterlands. I wouldn't touch tower defense with a 10 feet pole or whatever. And as I said, that's the only problem I see is like people from both sides of the wall, they wouldn't want to try to go into a new pay wall if they already were struggling with the first to start with.
Yeah, I just read this. I actually hadn't read it today. I don't like it. I'm gonna be a no vote, and I would campaign no at these numbers. They're too high. I mean, because most players are struggling, like Baby said, to get your SPS up. I mean, and also though, it's hard to vote properly on this when I don't even know what he means by League 1 through 10. Like, how many towers do I need? How many packs do I need? How many cards combine into a max level tower? I don't even know how to judge this because like I have 200 packs, which is about 1,000 cards. That's not very many if it combines like Splinterlands, but they recently said in a town hall that it wasn't going to be like Splinterlands. They actually kind of alluded to me like it was going to be less cards combining to get max level cards. But I don't feel like they should be separate. I kind of agree with Bebeomega. If I'm staking my coins into the ecosystem to be able to play the games, and the games are supposed to have synergies between them, why would the staking SPS have to be separate into each game? It does give SPS another use case, I suppose, and it might get you a little bit more price support if some whale decides he wants to come and own all the rewards that are coming out of the game. Because it is kind of a small rewards pool. I know it's much smaller than the game ones. And so if a lot of people are earning it, then it's not very much. But I kind of like the idea of it not being very much and easy to come and play and earn. So like a newer player into our ecosystem can come and they can maybe get a couple towers, play the tower defense game, earn a little bit of SPS, learn more about the game, and then go into the other game. Now it feels more like they're like saying, "Hey, whales, here's 1,000,000 SPS. If you have so much SPS that you that you can double up your, because it's almost the same as the Splinterlands one, isn't it? Doesn't it kind of mirror the same table? Because like for Champion League to get the 10x rewards, I needed 450,000 stake. That's what I have. And now this one you would need 484,000 to get the 10x. So, given I have no idea if a 200 packs will put me anywhere near League 10. I don't know, because I don't know. Have they released any info about that? I didn't see anything in there about how these leagues actually work.
Oh, judging by Splinterlands, they'll get to nowhere, man. 200 bucks.
Well, yeah, I know. I didn't go. I don't think. I think like everybody was spread thin when this came out. That's why not very many people bought that many packs. I don't know anybody who had much more than 500, and even 500 is kind of light. To get a max level Splinterlands deck, you need around 4,000 packs. So even if you bought 500, you were not anywhere near what you would need in a typical game from Splinterlands. Mini sets are a little bit less, obviously, because there's less cards. But this idea that people have to split their SPS in half or buy twice as much if you want to earn at a good level in the other game, I don't know. I don't think that's going to work that well.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen it that you get some sort of credit for having staked SPS in one game for the other. Like Jangles mentioned, maybe it's 50% or something.
But it's not even another game. It's the same. It's same. Like it's even physically in the Splinterlands website. Like you don't even have to go outside.
Yeah, like the shop and all the packs and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think people's initial reaction, like Jangles, I think was great. It'll help SPS, but is it? I mean, that's the thing. How many people right now are holding tower defense packs that don't play Splinterlands? Is there any? Like, do we know if there's? I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, so are we they kind of reaching into the same pockets to kind of get that thing going? I mean, if there was a whole other separate community.
But
there wasn't a lot of crossover, then maybe that would justify saying, you got to stake, SPS separate too. But
we're hoping to get them, and then we're putting them behind another paywall because, you're welcome. You want to try this game, which is cool, and it's just a part of another game, which is even more cool. But if you want to go there, you have to cough up some more cash. I don't know. I don't think there'll be many takers. But who knows?
Well, I think it's the same idea. I mean, I agree with you guys. I would have liked to have seen, from my own personal interest, being able to see what I have staked in Splinterlands be at least partially applied to Soulkeep. But also, I think more importantly, we're all entering into Soulkeep with zero frame of reference on what rewards could have been, right? Like everybody's going to be starting from the same level. And yeah, I agree with you guys, but at the same token, I do feel like entering into this new ecosystem, this new game, ecosystem is the wrong word, new game with zero previous frame of reference, I think should make a significant difference. And if there's not that many players involved in the Soulkeep stuff, those rewards could be somewhat substantial despite, 4-6x multiplier.
But that's not the.
That's bad. That's a bad way to do it.
But no, that's not the point. The point is not if the rewards will be good. I mean, obviously, if you put enough money, especially in the beginning, you could probably get good rewards. But the point was us enticing players to make the jump over, because that's the whole idea. You're making a brand new game, different genre, and hoping for some at least percentage of the new players that are coming for that game to cross over to your main game. Then you don't put burdens on their way, because that just won't incentivize them. They'll be like, okay, I found this game, I'm happy playing with it, and I think crossover between the two games will help both games, because as I said, having that paywall the other direction as well will prevent some Splinterland players giving it the go into the tower defense, and that also means that those players would have been purchasing packs or purchasing towers or renting towers or whatnot, but they would have been showing some interest or commitment in the other game, and now they'll be like, yeah, okay, I know that I can spare some of my SPS and put it there, but I don't even have enough for the Splinterlands, and now I have to decide how much of that I need to put in some other game. It's just like, I don't know. It just I for me, it's just a missed opportunity for getting new players that can potentially cross over in both of the games.
Yeah.
I could say sorry.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, but to me, it's a big miss because, like he's saying, this should be a simple tower defense game on your game. Should be an add-on that brings new eyes into the main game, and then you play it. You earn this token that's involved in the other game, and hopefully we pull you over. Now, it's gonna be. It's not gonna be that at all. Because I know like nobody was holding packs yet, but eventually this was going to be a marketed game by another game studio who's out there who would be hopefully planning to market this game as well, bring in new people into the ecosystem, launch the secondary pack sales again because they were going to release the beta packs. And it's like the cookie for us is we got alpha packs, and maybe they do something special for those towers. They were still working that out. We don't even know what they're doing yet. And then now just arbitrarily, they just said before there was a pool, you played the game, you could earn the tokens. They're adding in a staked SPS requirement to play the game to earn the tokens. I don't know. I don't like it. The only thing to defend it a little bit is that if not many people do it, then maybe having just a tiny bit on there, you'll still earn okay rewards or some rewards. I guess that's kind of the overall defense always is, you don't have to have a 10x. You can have a 2x and just play, and you just earn less than everyone else. But this opens it up for basically somebody who has that much extra money to just take all of that, like a lion's share of those rewards. If they're like the only person who decides to get max, if only like 3 or 4 guys decide to get max level things, and I don't think any system where a majority of the rewards are going to be given to maybe like 5 people is good, because we don't even do that in our system, right? In Splinterlands, they separate the prize pools, so the champions fight with each other over the champion pool, and the diamond guys fight with each other over the diamond pool, and the gold over the gold, and bronze over bronze. In here, it's going to be the top whales are just going to take it all. From what I'm reading, they're just going to be like, I'm up. Unless they're going to explain that it's only 100K per level. But I don't know. We don't know. This is like one of those things where they're asking us to agree to something before we know even how this game works, how it plays, how you progress up in levels, how you do towers and things like that. And I could just see a situation where you have 5 guys who make it to the get max level towers, beat the game, and can beat it every single day, and they're just bringing in 90% of those rewards, and then that doesn't help us grow. You were going to say something, Hep, though. Sorry.
No, yeah, it's quite all right. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I was going to say that if I hadn't looked at the staking requirement numbers for tower defense, if they're on par with what Splinterlands is, then me personally, I would probably play it, but not at much more than say like a silver level or like a lower mid level.
Yeah, I'll bring them on screen really quick.
Yeah. But yeah, like you're saying, if it could be, I don't know if you guys played like Golem Overlord at all, but that was a game where, at first come out, like it's, you had people up at the top just taking the big part of, the rewards and, the token price crashing.
Pretty much the same like the Splinterlands, yeah.
Yeah, see, like this would be pretty much this, this right here, 484 for 10x at level 10. That's pretty much Champion 1 10x is about 450, I think, or something. And then this is actually bigger, times 12 in Splinterlands. I think it's only 1.2 million, and this is 1.4 million. And that's crazy because the monthly rewards pool for this is only 1 million SPS, whereas I think for Splinterlands it's multiple millions per league, like much more. So
how many like league? I guess Splinterlands has what, 15 leagues instead of 10.
Yeah, this has less.
Well, I'm pretty sure with the rewards pools, they're just broken into bronze, silver, diamond, gold, into and champion. The 5.
Yeah.
Well, then modern and wilds, right?
Yeah, and then modern and wild. It's split in half into each of those. They both have their own pools.
Yeah, but again, we're still using that 10x as the baseline, which is, I think, a bias that we shouldn't go into Soul Keep with. I mean, I agree. I agree with you guys, but I'm also playing devil's advocate here, saying, I think they're trying to enter into this space without the previous baggage of expectation, where 10x is our baseline. Going into Soul Keep, that's simply not true.
Yeah,
right?
It's hard to do it when it's not a new token, though. Right, because there's already some guys with giant bags who can just come in here day one and be like, you know what? I'll just stake 400,000 over here, and I'll earn a 10x. And if there's some kind of guild bonus, I'll be in a guild and I'll be at like 11 or 12x, and I'll make massive amounts of points on this equation compared to somebody who comes in and it's like, because like I could easily throw like 2,000 at this. Maybe I'll only be playing in League 2. I only have 200 packs. And then I could be at times 12 in League 2. But I'm going to be earning way less points than the guys up here if this rating system is going to work the same. But we don't fight each other, so I don't know. That's weird.
But again, my main point was not like everybody's talking, like everybody's focusing about how much they're going to make, how much the rewards are. And I think that's not what we should be focusing on, at least for that game, because rewards will be rewards. There will be more in the beginning, less when more people are coming. But the whole getting new players stuff, which like everybody wants new players. Like every third message for complaining is like, when new player stuff, when you're going to attract new players, when marketing, when that, and that was the whole idea. Like this new game, which is new genre, which is one of the cool genres, I always think, brings new eyes to our game. It brings new people, gives them the opportunity, alongside playing their favorite genre, to give a chance to something that is not that distant in the same ecosystem. And now it turns out it's not really in the same ecosystem, because you need a different token that you need to stake, and you need to make the whole transition and that will be it. Just I think it will be off-putting to some people. And again, nothing to do with the rewards, whether they're good or not, whether they're 10x or not, has to do with accessibility, in my opinion. And that different token staking, I think it takes away a lot of the accessibility between the two games.
I agree with you, baby, but I would ask, what is the purpose of Soulkeep? Is the purpose of Soulkeep to offer a platform for cross pollination between Splinterlands and Soulkeep, or is it to drive, new eyes and new wallets into the ecosystem, which is going to benefit both parties for coming in early and having SPS?
I think both.
Okay.
We have to pick. Like, I mean, these both can be viable goals because they both bring more to the community itself. So I think they can be pursued at the same time. I don't think it needs to be exclusive.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I think, the way this proposal currently stands, it definitely ticks the latter box, right? It draws more eyes and more wallets via a new game genre within the Splinterlands ecosystem, quote unquote. And ultimately, it should benefit both ecosystems by driving more utility and more desire for holding SPS, right?
In my eyes,
the cross pollination isn't there, but yeah.
In my eyes, the only tick box it ticks is buy more SPS because we want you to buy more SPS, and that gets old at some point because I appreciate all the efforts they put into giving SPS utility, but seeing how many people were like accepting the whole SPS taking because they had no chance anyways, but they're like from the beginning they were complaining and then they were starting to ease into it. But I can see that a lot of people are way below the threshold where they're supposed to be based on their collections, and they have their work cut out. They have to work on that now, and in the same time they're like, okay, by the way, the game that you were expecting so much, we're launching it, but if you want to get some chance of earning there, you have to put aside what you were trying to build in Splinterlands, because we need you to put some in that game. And yeah, I'm just thinking it was on the brink with the SPS taking for the Splinterlands, and now for a lot of people it will just be over the top. I that's what I think.
Yeah, and I would say for me, I thought the purpose of the game was to just bring more gameplay to the current player base while at the same time having a new way to reach out to people. This kind of proposal to me no longer says that it's a gameplay for the current user base or targeted at like an added gameplay. This is no longer like another thing I get to do. It's you could do this or that. You can have your SPS here or there. You can spend money on these assets or those assets. It's not combining them anymore in my mind, especially because we know the monster staking to towers isn't going to be there in the beginning. They said that. So it's just going to be a tower defense game. All you can do is buy towers and stake towers and play the game to earn rewards with the towers you have. And if I have to stake SPS either over there or in Splinterlands, then it becomes a choice, not like an addition. I can see why some people will support it. If you already have, say, like 800,000 SPS, this is awesome for you, especially if you have towers, because now you can have times 12 in 2 games. So good for you. If you're somebody who is already a little bit short, you're, in a bad situation. And I mean, it'll be interesting to see. And I don't know where the numbers of this is on, and I haven't seen anybody dig deep into this yet or anybody put out the numbers. And I know, sorry, I'm too busy to do this, but like, is SPS staking in Splinterlands preventing new players from coming in? How has that gone so far? Are they okay with the idea that they have to come in and buy X amount of a token to stake it to earn within the game and buy cards to earn within the game? It was always like something that was going to be a little bit of a challenge to sell a new player. I thought that it was doable. because you earn the token as you play. I guess you do earn your token as you play in the other game, so maybe it is doable. My biggest complaint about this, though, is that we just don't know what the game is. So it's hard for me to even think about what to prepare for. I have no idea even, like today, I own 200 packs. I don't know what level monsters those are going to get me, and I don't know, towers, and I don't know what level of those towers will get me to in League. So I have no idea how much SPS to even go buy to get ready for this. I just don't know. Like, even if I wanted to be that, upstanding, like, okay, I need to go buy 60,000 SPS to stake into Soulkeep. I don't even know that. I can't even do the math. So it feels like they're doing that. That's what makes me not like this, is they're doing it out of order. They need to put the game info out. I need to know everything about the game. And then you can put out your proposal about how to earn in the game. And I can vote on it, educated on what I know into the game. Because, like, if it's like Splinterlands and you need 400 towers to get a max level tower or GLS, then my 1,000 cards are nothing. I'm not going to have anywhere near max towers. So then maybe I go like, all right, I guess this is kind of okay, because we can look at how many people have that many packs. And just honestly, when this game launches, maybe nobody can even get to League 10. Maybe we're all going to be in like League 3 and that's it. And so then the ask is not really that crazy, and you can grow into the rest of the game. But I don't know any of those factors. What if they changed their mind and the pack sales were low and it's only like there's only 10 towers and it's 100 cards to get a max? Oh, well, now my 1,000 cards, I have every tower at max level. So now I'm going to be at the top of the game. Now I need 400,000 more SPS. But I can't even make that educated guess in my mind and go, should I whale out? Should I try to be the king? Should I get 1 million SPS? Because I have no idea where my pack level puts me in League, because I haven't seen that information. And so it feels like they're trying to rush this because they want to go live with the game, but they need to work out how people are going to earn. I think they kind of mentioned that in the town hall. And I hadn't actually read this post, so I wasn't aware that they were doing this. But those numbers, they're interesting, and maybe they're too scary. And I understand your point, Bojangles, because we're you don't have to look at the right side. You can look at the left side of each of those and be like, hey, everybody's starting over here. Everybody's going to be at these lower levels. You're still going to do pretty good. But I worry that you're going to end up with a couple whales pulling down almost all of those rewards. And Splinterlands has had a history of making those mistakes in the past. If you want to look at the 10 people that have earned almost every single SPS given away in the gold foil alpha tournaments, and think that was good for the game, that those 10 people made an exorbitant amount of money, Tails did a deep dive into that, and it was not good for the game. They dumped those tokens, and they dumped them hard. And so when you can make an outsized return of the token, it's usually into hands that people are gonna dump the token, usually. So that's the one thing I would worry about, because since the 12x is there, it is obtainable. Somebody can get there, and if they're the only person there, that's a pretty good reward coming to them probably.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about that is I think you mentioned that the order kind of throws you off a little bit, but I feel like the team is actively trying to pursue an entrance into Soulkeep that avoids all the salt that came on the heels of the SPS staking. Like, how many people were up in arms like, holy shit, there's no way I can ever achieve my 10x of what I was achieving in Diamond or Champ previously. And everybody was pissed. And we still see kind of residual ripples of that. It's not nearly as common as it was, a month or two ago when it was first announced. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to enter into the game with the expectation set, with this rewarding mechanic already in place. So everybody comes in with an equal baseline versus, back in the good old days, I was getting 10x for zilch,
Yeah,
Yeah,
all right, that's a fair point. I understand what you're saying there. I just think those numbers are big. I mean, you know what though? If if it somehow works and they get outside eyes on the game and people come in buying hundreds of thousands of SPS to stake so they can play and earn, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah,
I
I'm just
guess.
thinking
I just don't
they're
think I would
going
play at that point. I would just sell my packs.
they're going with the idea of like with the quality over quantity, like how much we can squeeze out of each individual player, whereas there is the option of if both games need the same stake requirement, then they attract more players. They will still get the same result over more players instead of squeezing less players for more. So that's what I think.
Let me ask you guys, Hep, I want to hear your take too. We've been with SPS staking for a little while. You know, in the not too distant future, I think just about everybody is expecting SPS to start slowly ticking up. At what point do we revisit the multiplier numbers? Like, is that a player count, an account count, or is that an SPS price determined decision that we need to make? Where do you guys see those numbers be revisited to not price people out, to not have too high of a paywall, to still keep the game accessible to new folks?
Steve, you want to start?
I don't know. Part of me thinks never. And part of me, because like, let's say SPS really goes wild, like I've talked about in some of my videos. My most watched video ever, SPS is going to 100x, and it's going to be a $1, $2, $3 coin, right? And that still doesn't put us anywhere near Axie's market cap in the last bull run, just for anybody who thinks that's absolutely crazy. But and then, you know, you're talking my account, I have, you know, $400 to $1.2 million staked if we're in that $3 range. What's their incentive is? How are they incentivized to lower it? Because then instantly I go, well, I only need 200,000 now, so I guess I sell half my tokens, pocket that money, because, you know, I was holding them because I was playing and earning an incredible amount, and I didn't want to stop that, and I'm a little bit of a fanboy of the game, so I wasn't dumping my bag yet, but they just told me I only need half my bag, so I might as well sell half of it. And so it's a hard question for me to even imagine. I do understand the idea a little bit, that we should want to lower it, but it's going to take a vote. And knowing that vote is going to probably lead to a dump, I feel like it's going to be hard to get that through. And it leads me almost to a place where I believe a lot of whales won't mind going, sorry, you're too poor to join. And this is our ecosystem. We were here first. We're making big money. The flywheel's flying. SPS is burning. Numbers are going up. And sorry, we did videos for years and podcasts for years. We tried to tell you to be here. You didn't listen to us. I don't know what to tell you. You want to play champion, you need $400,000. But in reality, maybe at like a dime. I don't know though.
Yeah, I think also I'm agreed to the point that the requirements it will be first hard to change them, I think, because it will be against the interest of people holding the SPS bucks anyways, and they're the ones having the majority of the voting power. But aside from that, yes, you need, like, the SPS will cost more, so probably you'll be able to afford less to start with, but then again, you're earning that SPS from playing in the game, and the SPS that you're earning will actually be more valuable. So I think there will be some balance there. Like, you see how much you earn, you know how much it costs, the thing that you earn. Well, maybe you can make decision like, do I want to earn more and therefore spend some more, or I'm fine building up slowly. That's they said the team said, and it was clear in the table that they put. It's just like, even if you don't have any SPS, you still earn. It's not what others are earning, but you're still earning. So technically, you don't really need to have uh, SPS take if you have patience and if you can earn slowly and build it up. And that's my point. Is like if the rewards are worth more, maybe it should be fair that different league levels are worth more as well. And as I said, just purely from technical point, I don't think there will be any way, or at least an easy way for a proposal like that to pass.
Yeah, I think it's gotta come down at some point if SPS starts to go up. I mean, SPS doesn't really start to achieve those heights unless we grow the player base. I mean, realistically, right? And they're gonna hit friction there. You think it's gonna you think it can go up that high with the current player base, Stever?
I think that if SPS starts to go up just a little bit in our DeFi pools, like if you hit a dime, our DeFi pools that are paying 20-30% all go 4x, and DeFi heads come into the ecosystem. And then they need to get DEC, they have to buy and burn SPS. This is the flywheel Matt created. And Matt has understood the tokenomics, and this is why I said, look at the Luna chart. It went from 17 cents to $100 because it flywheeled. And people wanted to chase a yield, and they had to burn Luna to get Terra so they could put it into the thing to earn 20% on a stable coin. If DEC looks pretty stable and we're paying 80%, well, somebody's going to find that, and they're going to want to get into it, and they're going to have to buy DEC to enter it, and that's what he's created, and that's why things can get stupidly broken in price. It's not a guarantee, because we have to be able to get DEC to peg, and we have to be able to hold it for a while. I don't know that we can do that. We haven't proved that we can. But if land gets deployed properly, that's why things can get stupidly broken around here. Because he created a flywheel, and those flywheels break coins. They literally break them. And it's crazy to think that you could have a multi-dollar to $100 SPS because the flywheel goes completely wild. And you're right. You would think you'd want to force a change in those staking things, but who's going to vote to let other people take that money from them? I mean, it's such a hard thing to imagine. Now, if we go up really slow, that's why I said, if we get to a dime slowly, maybe we vote to cut them down a little bit, like a quarter. But I don't know, man.
I mean, I think, you should see the team and like Ali. I mean, they make most of their money off of pack sales, right? And if someone says, well, I can only earn at a bronze level because I can't afford SPS at a silver level, I'm only going to buy a bronze level's worth of cards or silver's level worth of cards, I that's where I see there's going to be friction. I think that the team will want to figure out some way to incentivize people to kind of push to buy more cards.
Yeah, I know the CEO's right. It wouldn't be easy to sell off $1 million in SPS, and everything in our game, it makes you unliquidate quickly. But it's just, yeah. I mean, where are you at, Bjangles? Do you think we have to lower it, or that the community will?
I think we have to eventually. I don't know what is that price point on one SPS token that's going to trigger the conversations, but for the name of perpetuating the game and still being inviting to new players, average players that come for the gameplay and not just the wallets. I think eventually it will have to be adjusted. I don't think, if we achieve the 10 cents, quick math tells you, that's 4 or 5x of what we are right now. And if you want to play at the highest levels of the game, which I stick by my argument, that's where the most fun is at. That is not a very accessible endeavor for the majority of folks out there.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a card collection that one time, guys, during our bull run. This game said I was a millionaire. it said my cards were worth over $1 million on the market. And I didn't sell them because I liked playing the game, and I was a little caught up in all the hype. But on paper, things can get kind of strange if people don't decide they want to liquidate, don't want. Oops, my earpiece fell out. But the things that can happen are kind of crazy, and if we get a serious run during the next Bitcoin halving in the crypto markets, I don't know. I'd like to see them come down, though. I would. I think they're a little bit too high, and I think if we did it responsibly, maybe it could be done. But I don't see them coming down a lot. I just don't see that happening.
Well, maybe there's room to meet in the middle. Alex is asking a little bit of a trolling question, but it's poignant. Should we make a cheat game for everyone, or have a game mode that incorporates low income people? We heard months and months back Weirdbeard kind of beating the drum around a free to play version of the game, and getting people hooked on the gameplay, getting people hooked on the strategy, and then offering an accessible on ramp to earning. And I think that has to take place as well. Obviously we don't want to make all of the assets dirt cheap and allow any and everybody to come in. I think that just, we're digging a hole for ourselves, but I think accessibility is still going to be key moving forward.
Part of me agrees and part of me disagrees. I mean, this is a crypto game. There is a DeFi part of this game that a lot of people ignore. At their own peril of not understanding how everything works. And nothing about what they do has ever told me that they care that much about the guys on the very bottom of our ecosystem. They don't mind that they're here. They like the fact that somebody can come in and do well with the bronze deck. And they love the story of people who've come in and played this game and made a decent living for where they live in the world and everything. But all you got to look at is those SPS staking numbers. And it doesn't show me that they want to make it easy for anybody to be anywhere near the top of this thing. And look at the card combines. Look at GLS. You need 400 of any one of those soccer players to be a max level card. You need, everything in this game is built for whales to be on top, and it's literally like at the next set, if we're not in a bull run, I might be priced out myself of staying at top of this game, because I'll just be like, I'm not really ready to put $15,000 into Rebellion because I haven't made enough money playing the game this past year. So that's probably why Rebellion isn't out, to tell you the truth, is because they know they haven't made enough return for their bigger players to dump another large amount of money like we did into Chaos Legion. So it's interesting. But I do agree that if we go up, if we don't go up exponentially, you probably can get one or two reprices through. Maybe at 5 cents, you can try to push one through. If we get there and it looks kind of good, and 10 cents, you can try. But I don't know. I mean, because, do you think they would have done this staking differently if SPS was at a nickel instead of 2 cents when they were doing the numbers? I don't feel like it would have been any different.
I think it's according to the amount of SPS you're receiving, regardless of the price. And just because it comes overall the amount too much, well, that's because the token has risen that much. But, I mean, people have chance to get it low now. People with chance probably will have a lot of time to do that. Well, not maybe a lot, but they'll have some time to do that. And as far as I believe that the whole formula is based on you get that much SPS based on that much pool and that much on your side staking. So it's all priced in SPS, not in dollars, I would think.
Well, maybe land is that great on ramp for when free to play a free to play game mode comes into the system. Being able to earn on land, being able to earn SPS from land, from specific types of land. Maybe that's what's going to be that cross pollination that we were hoping for with Soulkeep. Is you can play the land game you'll have to acquire, card assets and play that against your lands on your lands. And then you can, kind of put that SPS that you're earning via lands back into the rank side of things and kind of elevate your stake in the game that way.
But it will be SPS just for a while. It's not like that's not the main goal. That's not the end goal.
Sure.
For now, it's just something to keep us distracted and to keep us asking less often
when 2.0.
Yeah. But it just it as might as be cross-pollination, it's just like not at the same level, because you don't, aside from the, like, you pull from with the land, you pull stuff from the Splinter, like you made it more scarce, like you eliminate stuff from the game, which is a good thing, but it's not something that is like playing a completely different game on the same platform. And for some, it's not even like, you can argue even how much of a game it is. I mean, it's resource management for sure. It just it's not at the same level as a game from the type of tower defense is. Even though, to be honest,
that's fair.
I was a little bit disappointed.
I think Land is going to be a more decision-based game than people think it will be in the long run, though. I think it's going to be resource management. It's going to be making decisions on what buildings to build, on which
it will be more of a DeFi platform.
And Neil did say that Land was going to be tied into boss fights at some point. Almost like that there would be like raid instances possibly, or like bosses that show up in certain territories and things like that.
Okay, but that's purely Splinterlands game. Just the land gives the platform, but it's still the Splinterlands game. It's not a different game. And it's, to me, the land, the major point of land, what they're making to be is just DeFi. It's a DeFi.
Alex, we don't get spell cards until Land 3.0, right, guys? From what I've heard, Land 1.5 is.
I heard 5.0 yesterday.
I've heard 3. I've heard 3 because 1.5 is grain and research. 2 is when you get the 50 resources started, right? That Matt's talked about. That there's going to be up to 50, and then 3 is when you actually use those resources to mint cards.
Let's just say
you're not minting cards for a long time, guys.
We don't get items and spell until 2025, because there is another phase. Because first you'll be able to mint them, but then on a later date you'll be able to actually use them in the game. So that's another phase as well. You don't start using them straight away, from what I read, but I don't.
Yeah, and the chat's reminding us that if we do get to crazy SPS prices, there are rental systems. So you can come into the game, you can rent cards, you can rent SPS to start playing the game and earning it, so you don't have to go crazy and get into it. And I will just stand by the idea that, they have been completely fine in the past with, there not being a set of cards for you to buy, for the cards on the market just going up in price exponentially, for you getting your butt kicked because you don't have cards that you can't buy unless they are very they don't get, you don't got a kitty. Well, I don't care. We don't got to put an answer to that into the game. You just get to lose the kitty all the time. So they or if they do a balanced card out to try to counter it, it becomes super expensive, and if you don't get it, you don't get it. You don't have it.
Well, but that's kind of solved by the modern format being always the latest 2 editions. So that's something that can be solved.
You always get another chance to go ahead and whale in. They've built that into the game. But if you don't, when the chance is there, you just don't have those things. You don't have them at the level you want them to. You'll never get them to the level you want them to. You don't got a max level flesh golem today, you're probably not getting one. You're just not. So it's something that they've been comfortable with doing in the past, which is why I'm pretty sure that they'll be comfortable with SPS being at a high price and you just being priced out of the game, unless you're really, really wealthy or willing to take some kind of rental chance to come into the game.
You may be right for the flesh golem, but that's not the case with Taurid. I don't have a max Taurid, but I will one day. You can count on it.
Yeah, I don't think you could even get a max flesh golem from anywhere.
Oh,
That card is super rare.
If you talk with
Matt,
Yeah, Matt Clark, right? Yeah.
yeah.
just-
If you
DM
message Matt
Matt
Clark and
make a
work
deal.
out a deal,
yeah.
but
I don't know. He held strong throughout that whole bull market. I think he was still accumulating. I think he dropped some
remember-
statistic. I think it's like 70+% of all flesh golems. That's
But
just absurd.
He's the
my
finest
cards were worth
gentleman.
$1 million. Imagine those other guys, because I don't even have gold cards. They had to have been sitting on accounts worth $3-4 million at the top of that last bull run, and they're still sitting with them. So they believe that things are going to get there again. I mean, Splinterlands made millionaires last bull run. If anybody thinks that they can't do it the next one, I just think you're wrong. Because DeFi guys find DeFi and Matt build it in. The only question
Yes.
is though, the only question is, can we do it before the SPS distribution ends? Because the flywheel has to run before the distribution ends, because that's what builds in the rewards for the high rewards for these liquidity pools. So we have to turn it around, and you have to get SPS probably to about, if the game can get it to like 15 cents, the DeFi people can do the rest. Because that's like 7-8x from here. That's liquidity pools on DEC BUSD at like 90%. And no DEC for them to get into it. So they're gonna have to buy it and burn it. Buy SPS and burn it, or they're gonna have to buy DEC and have a lot of slippage, and arbitrage bots will do the burning for us. So that's where things get broken when somebody sees, wait, I can pair two coins that are together that are stable, and they'll give me 80%, and I want to put $100,000 into that. I want to put $1 million into that. How do I do that? I have to go buy $500,000 worth of DEC of SPS to be able to burn it to get the DEC without any slippage. That's when things get absurd. And yeah, maybe nobody's willing to put $1 million in, but if some of those ETH whales or some of those BSC whales want to put 100,000, and there's just a handful of them that do it, that is $1 million of liquidity that can come into those pools. And it's kind of funny because normally you'd say them coming in pushes those APRs down, which it does, but because they have to buy and burn the asset one way or another to get in, that pushes the asset up, which then pushes the APR higher. It's a ridiculously broken system that is created to make SPS hit levels that are just absolutely insane. The where it all ends up in breaks, because all these things break, is eventually there's just like absurd amount of billions of DEC in our ecosystem. And that's why Aggie said in his post in the town hall, he needs to find you somewhere to spend DEC for this system not to break. Like he needs real world places to let you spend DEC at $1 to like buy a hamburger. I don't know, something.
Well, but they
You
have
got to find some kind of partnership.
So many places for you to lock DEC, because all these 50 different resources, people will keep on producing.
Oh yeah,
those,
I know. I've said all that, but eventually, that's where it would break. That's where the wheel would break. Is that and Tails saw this too after I did my video. He countered it with eventually it breaks because there's just too much DEC in the marketplace, and then it loses peg. And
but it's not on the marketplace. That's the thing. It's not on the marketplace because you need, if you want to keep your resources on the market, you need to have that DEC stake. You cannot move it. It's not liquid. It's staked there. And in the meantime, you're producing more resources, and these more resources would still need to get even more DEC to put in. So all the one that you're putting in, it's locked for the duration you want to participate in that and earn from that. So it's like, at the end of the day, yeah, it's things and stuff coming up all the time that will be taken care. Even if the people decided all of a sudden, okay, I've earned enough from my liquidity, which I don't think it will happen. But let's say somebody say, okay, I made my money, I want out, I would just forfeit my resources, I'll just take my DEC and I'll go out. Well, I mean, I don't think that will be game breaking because I don't think many people will be doing that. If you're earning something on a steady rate, would you break your market, your LP if you don't need to?
I might, but only because I saw my stuff go to $1 million once and didn't sell it. So if it happens again, I might sell a decent amount this time. But
you
other people, if it's the first time you've seen it, it's hard to. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's hard to get your mind out of. It's not gonna stop going up. And you always think it's gonna go up, it's gonna go up, it's gonna keep going up, it's gonna keep going up, and then one day it doesn't. But the syncs that are coming are incredible. They're talking about them in the chat. There's the 50. But the question is, can they get this all out quick enough? It's all there, right? But we're still waiting for 1.5. The Splinterlands had a 5-year distribution of 3 billion tokens. That's what feeds the liquidity pools. We're already like it was 5 years, and I think we're already like a year into it. But it's extended a little because some of the liquidity pool rewards, some of the rewards started late because things started late. Like land was supposed to be out a long time before they decided to start dropping SPS to people for holding land because that token pool was supposed to start coming out, and they waited a few months. So everything got extended a little bit longer on their rewards. But at that point, the token will be at its 3 billion cap supply having been issued. Some of it's been burned, so it won't ever be 3 billion tokens. But then the DAO has to step in. And that's why the DAO has to be rich, and they have to start providing the rewards to the ecosystem. And that's why the DAO is supposed to sell those mini sets in SPS. And that's why the first one was sold in SPS, was to feed the DAO the SPS it needs for the future support of the liquidity rewards and game rewards. Now it's kind of different because we sell everything in DEC. They're going to get a bunch of DEC, and I'm guessing when it's at PEG, they're going to buy SPS with it. Yeah. At some point, there'll be a proposal for the DAO to do that because they need to stack. They don't need DEC, they need SPS because they have to take over those rewards at some point. But the question is, either can the DAO get enough SPS to keep the rewards lucrative, or can they release all of this stuff and actually get our system completely humming with everything going? Like, truly, you need to at least get to land 2.0 before you get close to the end of those initial reward distributions. Otherwise, your flywheel's not gonna have enough time to fly because you're not gonna be able to do that whole DeFi thing that would blow everything up. But then maybe you only get SPS at a quarter. Sorry.
It's okay, I'll take it.
That's still a 10x. That's a 10x.
I know.
More than a 10x.
Well, it's hard to imagine it's not going to go back up to a quarter just if land gets deployed as far as 2.0. Because how much DEC has to get printed at that point? You need
billions.
So much of it to support that ecosystem that SPS has to get burned like crazy.
And
especially
again,
if it's at low prices.
We're talking only about the existing player base, which we're all hoping that's not it. I mean, that's laughable for the perspective that the game has. Like, just that's a very small user base based on what it can be. So yeah, at some point we will be 10x, hopefully, at least, and then maybe more. And yeah, that will also relate into since everybody needs to be having staked SPS, people will need to be buying it as well on top of all flywheels and whatnot. So yeah, I think quarter of a dollar is way achievable. It's just, I think my thinking is way more than that, but at least that, yeah, if you're talking of at least that, I think is very achievable. Yeah, non-financial advice, hey guys. Don't
yeah, guys, remember.
Last time
you financial advisors.
Last time you said that, we got somebody to FOMO into 2 Roonies. So let's see how the SPS market responds to this one.
That's the problem. He didn't say it. He didn't say no financial advice.
I mean, the math.
Oh, that is the problem.
The math is there because there's not enough DEC, because some of it is just going to stay in liquidity pools because those are market makers. They're not pulling it out. And then to put into land, and then eventually people are just going to need it for land. It'll eat it up eventually. Even if it doesn't do it right away, I'm going to keep getting more DEC to get into my land, even if I don't get it right away. So that's what's going to, and there's not enough, and nobody's ready. It's kind of funny. When you talk about the people who are ready, usually the guys who say they are ready have less than 30 plots. You talk to anybody with a region or multiple tracks, they go, I'm not close to being ready. I haven't bought the DEC. And it's mostly because the opportunity cost, they're willing to leave their money in other places for now until they actually see it here. Because what's the worst you have to pay extra if you don't buy your DEC today?
20%.
Yeah,
15%.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's 20 to 15%, because you'll probably be able to maybe catch it on a dip at 95 cents or something. So they're just like, I don't need it. I'll get it when I need it because I'll just plan on paying $1 for each 1,000 I need. And that's actually excellent for us, that I think people have that attitude because they know that that's the most it'll ever cost. So when they come to get it, that's going to be causing SPS to get burned because they're willing to just pay the $1, and the smaller buys will push us up over, and arbitrage will happen, and the bigger buys will buy SPS to burn into DEC to avoid the slippage. And that's where we start to see SPS run up even more because right now it ran up a little bit on the staking requirements. And then it fell back down, though, because land isn't here. If land would have got here already, they really missed an opportunity there because it would have pushed us even higher. That's why I worry that they're just going to miss. They're going to go too slow, because you gotta keep everything going. You got to keep the momentum going, and you got to get all this stuff out there because he's right. There's not enough DEC for what they have planned, but there's more DEC than what we currently need. So they need to get all that stuff out.
But basically, we can all agree that Matt is a genius, right? I mean, that's what it comes to the end, to the end of it. Exactly.
What were you going to ask, Bjangles? You were about to ask something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that you mentioned continuing and perpetuating the momentum from the previous bull run, but I think there's a lot of folks out there that would say it was the wrong momentum, right? And I feel like we're better positioned now to sustain that sort of growth. The technical debt, we hear the dev team talk about, updating the code base and bringing everything to speed and all of that stuff that helps sustain and support that sort of exponential growth that Splinterlands experienced 18 months ago, 24 months ago.
No, I was only referring to the recent SPS pump up to 2.5 cents.
Oh,
if land would
gotcha.
Come
is that a pump?
Well, from 2 cents to 2.5 is a 25% pump.
I'll take it.
That's you don't get that in the stock market very often, right? You don't see 25% in a couple days. But my point is, it probably would have got up to a nickel pretty quick. If they would have released land because of all the people that would have needed to buy it, would have needed to buy DEC that had been sitting off. It certainly wouldn't have dumped that way. But they missed it. They did because we've come back down to 2.1, 2.2, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it is now 10. So we've been going for 3 hours, guys. I think we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Hem's been sleeping with his eyes open for the last half hour.
I'm here.
I know. We start talking about the SPS going to crazy prices, and I know everyone in their head's thinking no, I can't do that, because that would make me super rich. Can't do that. That would make me super rich. And that's what all the Pepe holders said, right? And that coin can't do that. That coin couldn't do that, and it made them all super rich. And before Pepe did it, they did it with Doge, and this none of those coins even have this. And I've seen the flywheel break 2 coins, and both times over on Polygon, a coin called Titan Finance went from being $20 to over $1,000 in about 2 months, and that during the bull run. And then Luna went from 17 cents to $130, and all because they had a flywheel functionality in both of those things based around algorithmic stable coins, and they all fell apart because they could go backwards in those ecosystems. Their flywheels went forwards and backwards. Ours doesn't go backwards. You can never ever turn DEC into SPS unless you buy it.
It is still 130, not 100. 130. And if it doesn't happen, like
Hey,
Steve.
LSDOs, I have said a couple things that could mess us up, and it's really just the team not being able to deliver everything that they need to deliver and delivering it fast enough. Because that's the big thing is like we have all these things for SPS, but like even if I wanted to today, even if I wanted to say, you know what, I want to deploy all my stuff onto land, I'm going to go ahead and take $10,000 out of the bank and put it into the game to get the rest of the DEC that I needed. It's not here yet. So I'm not tempted to do that. I'm not going to do it. And we do need outsized returns on the DEC pools and stuff, but I don't want to keep going. It's too late.
You don't? No, it sounds fun, man.
Let's go ahead and start with Hemp here. You want to say anything to the crowd before we go home?
Yeah, just check out the People's Guild. Check us out on Peak D, Spotify, YouTube. What else? Wherever you get your podcasts, come give us a listen. Episodes typically drop on Thursday mornings, East Coast time, US.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll quickly feature them here. Make sure you follow them on Hive. As you can see, they are doing very good here. We didn't even touch base on Splinterlands really interconnected to the Hive ecosystem is another way for people to earn and get into our ecosystem, but it is there. And you guys are sharing all your videos. And there's major guests if you go in here. I know you guys had Aggie. I know you've had Nate. I know you had, what's his name? Hardpoint. So it's very important to support these guys. And their link is in the description of the video.
Yeah, appreciate you having us on, Steve. Yeah, just thank you to you and Bebe for having us on, and something to look forward to with the People's Guild. We'll be having these guys on individually over the next hopefully month or so. We're going to be taking a couple weeks off. I'm going to be traveling out of the country here in mid to late August, but yeah, I appreciate you guys having us on. It was a lot of fun. I think we're shooting for 90 minutes, 2 hours, and yeah, ticked that box a couple times. A lot of fun, guys. Thank you for having us. It's been great.
Thank you for being with us, guys. And thank you also for the audience for supporting us and being there. I know there are other streamers streaming at the same time. We had to do it earlier this time, so unfortunately, but the good thing is you can always watch it on replay. So
yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. Thank you to Darkest Nights, Doc Jockey, Solving Chaos, and thanks again for joining us, guys. We're going to go ahead and call it, and hopefully we do see SPS go on that crazy bull run, because I think that would make people pretty happy.